mold.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of a different situation here for both of these fan bases. Of course, the Kansas City Royals in that World Series in 14, won it in 2015, and then the Tigers, the postseason runs that they had 2011 to 2014 with a World Series appearance in 2012. Those days right now are behind both of them.
It's been a rough start for Kansas City, but not a rough start for one of the Royals' stars in Mike Moustakas.
They're certainly happy to have Mike Moustakas back after free agency. They thought maybe he would not put on that Royals uniform. Well, he's back in 2018, and he is showing everybody what he did a year ago was no fluke. It was a career season for him in 2017, and you see what he has meant to this team and their offense, on pace right now for a 40 home run season. So Mike Moustakas trying to do it in back-to-back years.
For the Detroit Tigers, no Miguel Cabrera on the disabled list with a hamstring strain. Nicholas Castellanos then has to have a little bit of extra leadership ability, and they need him to step up, and he's been great against the Royals.
He has been very good. Another guy coming off a career year, 26 home runs last season, has looked very good so far, and you talk about that history and what he has done against the Kansas City Royals. There are just certain teams that you're comfortable against. In the case of Castellanos, I'd say the Royals are a team that he is comfortable against. You see the batting average over the last 3 years and the 7 home runs. Of course, a lot of games played against those Royals within the division, so some familiar pitching that he'll probably look very forward to facing this afternoon.
And I'm now on headset as we take a look at the lineup, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, check tape. I think that's good.
Kansas City, Missouri. Game 3 of a 4-game weekend set between the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals. And alongside CJ Nitkowski, I am Kevin Kugler. Welcome inside Kauffman Stadium. Royals have taken the first 2 games of this series, but really, CJ, it's 2 teams with great histories that are in that rebuild mode in their cycle.
Yeah, a little bit of a different look here for fans of both of these clubs. You think about the Kansas City Royals, of course, in that World Series 2014. They won it all in 2015, and the Tigers had a nice postseason run, 2011 to 2014 with a World Series appearance in 2012. Things a little bit different, though, right now.
Yeah, despite the 2 games won in this series for Kansas City, they're not off to a great start this season. But Mike Moustakas is not letting that bother him. He's off to a tremendous start.
He is off to a great start, and Royals fans are thrilled to have him back. They thought there was a chance that we're going to lose him to free agency, but he comes back on a 1-year deal, and he has been terrific. And he's proving to people that 2017 was not a fluke. It was a career year in which he hit 38 home runs. Well, he has picked up where he has left off from a year ago. You see the 8 home runs that leads this team and puts him on pace to maybe hit 40 this year, so they're certainly thrilled to have him back in that Kansas City Royals uniform.
For the Detroit Tigers, they do not have Miguel Cabrera. He's on the disabled list with a hamstring strain. Nicholas Castellanos has to step up, provide that leadership, and this is a good team for him to do it against. He's been great against the Royals.
He has really enjoyed facing Royals pitching over the last 3 years. The numbers have been fantastic, and another guy that's coming off of a career year, 26 home runs a year ago for him, but you see what he's done now. The last 3 seasons, that .317 batting average, the 7 home runs against the Kansas City Royals. Of course, this is a team that's in that American League Central with the Tigers, so he's very familiar with a lot of these pitchers. He's certainly thrilled to be a part of this series right now, and as you mentioned, he's going to have to step up with Miguel Cabrera down.
Tigers ready to get this one going, and the batting order for the Detroit Tigers. Jeimer Candelario has been tremendous. That youngster right there at the 2nd spot in the order has hit safely in 15 of the last 18 games. Victor Martinez was 3 for 3 in last night's game, and James McCann providing a little punch at the bottom of the order over the last 15 games, hitting .339, really struggled out of the gate. They'll face today the right-hander Jason Hammel, making start number 7 of the year and his 3rd start here at Kauffman Stadium this season.
Yeah, and you see the record there, has yet to win a game so far this season for the Royals. 19 strikeouts to 12 walks. That whip a little bit high, but the ERA up there with it as well. So Hammel will try to get things turned around a little bit, get that first victory of the season. Very low strikeout rate for Jason Hammel, just 4.7 strikeouts per 9 so far this season.
And defensively behind him, Alex Gordon and Jorge Soler both have made some tremendous plays in this series in the outfield. Soler had a highlight reel play in last night's win. And on the infield, Salvador Perez behind the plate. The veteran catcher has done a little bit of everything behind the plate for Kansas City.
Yeah, he certainly has, and a guy that has taken on a heavy workload going back to that 2014 season. He has been the man. You see, of course, he's got that Rawlings Gold Glove chest protector, only for Gold Glove winners.
Leonis Martins stepping in to lead this one off. Absolute perfect day here in Kansas City. Light winds, bright sunshine, and Martin attacking the first pitch down a strike.
The Kansas City spring, I think, usually lasts, what, a week or 2? You go pretty much winter and a week of spring, and then next thing you know, unbearable heat. It can certainly get warm in here, but you're right. This is a perfect day for baseball.
There haven't been many this year in Kansas City. Kansas City hit by that winter that so many had across the country that seemed to stick around a little longer than expected. Whit Merrifield saying after Thursday's game, that was the first time he broke a sweat in a game this year. And the 0-1 bounced into left for a base hit. So Martin aboard to start it off for the Tigers.
A nice job by Martin taking that pitch to left field. Mentioned with Jason Hammel, you're not going to get a lot of swing and miss. There's going to be contact, and he throws that 2-seam fastball away right on the corner, and maybe even a little off the plate, but that's the approach. Take him the other way. Take what the pitcher gives. You try to pull that ball, and he's probably rolling over it and hitting a ground ball, but instead he lines it into left.
Now Candelario hitting .290 on the year, 3 for 9 in the series. Talking with Tiger manager Ron Gardenhire, and we were asking about some of the young guys, and Candelario's the first guy he brought up, CJ. Really has high hopes for his development. got him under club control for a while, and he is a star in the making.
Yep, this is what you look for when you're in this situation. And for Ron Gardenhire just taking over the Tigers this season and kind of getting to know this organization a little bit, finding out who sticks out, and Candelario's been one of those guys for him so far.
0-1 on Jeimer Candelario, hitting .375 over his last 6 games. Foul and out of play. What are we going to see from Hammel today, CJ?
Yeah, interesting as we dig in a little bit on the repertoire for Jason Hammel. Take a look at the fastball usage. Mostly two-seam fastballs for him. We saw that in the first at-bat, so he'll try to get some ground balls. Changeup and curveball, doesn't use it very often. It is the slider, and that is the go-to off-speed pitch. And interesting, too, with Hammel, he has not allowed a home run on any of his off-speed pitches so far this year. 3 home runs have come on both the four-seam and the two-seam fastball.
Out number 1 on the strikeout, Candelario. So 1 down in the inning, and Castellanos coming up.
It's a great location on an 0-2 pitch. Elevate, get it out of the zone. We'll see a lot more pitchers throwing up regardless of your velocity. And this one came in at 92 miles per hour, but good spin on that one as it stayed up and got up over the bat of Candelario.
Hammel with the lowest strikeout rate in Major League Baseball, but his first out, a strikeout. And now Castellanos stepping in. Did he go around? Yes, he did on appeal, and it's 0-1. Castellanos, 2 of his 3 home runs this year have been against these Royals. See the shift on.
Right-handed shift, right? This is something new to our game. Shifts have been happening now for a few years, but we're seeing more and more right-handers get the heavy shift. Albert Pujols has been a guy that has seen quite a bit of that. Castellanos is probably getting used to it as well, and it's interesting when you start kind of looking around at what's happened in the league. And Kansas City Royals, they're tied for, excuse me, no, they're second by themselves as far as the amount of shifts that they use, according to Inside Edge. 492 of those so far on the season.
Trying to hit away from the shift, and Castellanos fouls it off 1-2.
And you know what's been so interesting, I think, about that, a lot of people, if you didn't look, would say, you look at your organizations that you believe are kind of the ones that are ahead of the curve a little bit, and the Astros are certainly one. They lead in shifts. The Cubs, you would think, do not shift. They're near dead last in Major League Baseball. And it's kind of interesting. Obviously, they're a very good club. They've had some success, but they actually don't use those defensive shifts very much. The Royals certainly do. Number 2 on all of baseball. And one of the things regarding those shifts that I like, and you can go to different spots, and that is not going to exactly line up when it comes to defensive shifts, but I use the Inside Edge data. I think it's pretty good. Well, they'll do plus and minus. Have you allowed more hits because of the shift, or have you prevented more hits? And the Kansas City Royals, they're +9. Almost sounds like a football kind of stat, but they're a +9 as far as, so they have prevented more hits than they've allowed with the shifts.
We had a good conversation with both managers today about the usage of data and how not to get overwhelmed by the amount of data you have out there. And both Ron Gardenhire and Ned Yost have embraced it. And Gardenhire just continuing to build that department. He said it's a brand new department. We're just trying to get it up to speed with everybody else around Major League Baseball. He says we're getting there. There's the percentage of plate appearances with the shift employed, 39% this season. As CJ mentioned, second in all of baseball.
Pretty interesting to see. And then you go and you start looking at your defenses and wondering, have they been good at preventing runs? Because obviously at the end of the day, that is what this is about. Who can allow the least amount of runs?
The 2-2 to Castellanos, and that's driven down the left field line. That ball is off the base of the wall. Headed for third is Martin. He'll be waved around. There's going to be a play at the plate, and he's safe. All the way to third goes Castellanos, and it's 1-0 Tigers.
Well, the success for Castellanos against the Royals continues. We just talked about it in our open and how good he has been against this team the last 3 seasons. Good look at the changeup grip right there. We showed you the pitch usage and said that Jason Hammel does not use that changeup very much, but he throws one there, and Castellanos is all over it. He drills that ball in left center field. Now watch the cutoff here. Alex Gordon does a good job getting it to Escobar, hitting his cutoff man. But watch Salvador Perez. He realizes there's going to be some contact there. There's not going to be a play, and so he just pulls his glove away. How many times you see guys get a wrist or a thumb injury on that kind of play, and he just kind of alligator armed it and pulled his arm back and let it go.
Infield in as Martinez lines this one into the right center field gap. That ball is carrying, and it's all the way to the wall. Castellanos will coast home. Martinez gliding into second with an RBI double. 2-0 Tigers.
Back-to-back quality at-bats here from the Detroit Tigers, and hitting Jason Hammel hard. That was a breaking ball, sat in the middle of the plate at 77 miles per hour. And I'm thinking Jason Hammel, probably thinking he might have been able to get himself a first pitch strike, though that get me over breaking ball. When you think about Victor Martinez and how good he has been over the course of his career, he grinds out every single at bat. He's not going to let a curveball sitting over the middle of the plate go by with a runner in scoring position.
First pitch swinging for Jacoby Jones, but right to Almonte in center. Dragon to his left makes the catch. 2 down. So we've seen 3 pitches. All 3 have been hit. 2 have been doubles over the last 3 for Hammel, and now he'll face John Hicks with 2 down here in the first. Hicks had a walk-off bunt to beat Tampa on Wednesday. You don't hear the words walk-off and bunt associated too often.
I mean, you barely hear bunt these days. Nobody wants to do that anymore.
Seen a little bit more bunting this year from the Royals offensively.
I'm still a proponent. I think that the game will dictate when you should do it. I think I totally understand where we go when we look at the percentages and say, well, percentages are higher, but you look at that in a vacuum overall. The moment matters. What's happening in the game at that time. I called an Indians game the other day. Terry Francona had his guys bunt 3 times in 1 game. That's a pretty good offense. It's got some thump in it. They've gone through their ups and downs, but pick your spots, whether it means a really tough pitcher, maybe it's late in the game against a tough reliever, whatever it may be. You got a guy that's slumping at the plate.
2 balls and a strike. 3 in a game is well above the league average.
I don't know if they got them all down, because that's the other part of it, is how much are guys practicing their bunting, and then when you need to do it in a big spot, are you going to be ready? Are you going to be able to execute?
Hard hit to center. Almonte going back, trying to get there. It'll go over his head and off the wall. In to score is Martinez. Another double. This one for John Hicks, and it's 3-0 Tigers in the first. Three doubles in the inning for Detroit, and they've jumped all over Hammel.
Good look at the 2-seam fastball, and not a bad one down. He wanted it a little bit further in, but not terrible location, and Almonte just could not get to this ball as the Tigers have come out swinging it here in the first inning, doing some damage against Jason Hammel.
That's been against type for Hammel. He's been really good, CJ, first time through the order. Opponents were hitting just 157 against him the first time, but in this inning, 3 runs, 4 hits, and he's still not out of the woods as James McCann steps up. And McCann has been very good in his career against Hammel. 269 overall, but 357 in his career against Hammel, and he's driven in 3. One and one on James McCann. Hammel's earned run average in the first 2 innings this season was 0.75. That is going to elevate as you look at the shift again for the right-hander McCann. Good pitch from Hammel there, 1-2.
Really tight breaking ball out of the
zone, starts that pitch a strike, finishes off, and entices McCann to chase that pitch out of the strike zone. And obviously, when you get a team that comes out swinging the way the Tigers did early on, you don't be splitting the plate anymore. They have not let anything over the middle of the plate go by so far.
Still 1-2 on James McCann. It was a rough start to the season for McCann. Hit just 147 out of the gate in the first 9 games. Seems to have solved what ailed him early. Has hit about 340 since. In the air to center, Almonte coming over. He'll make the catch, and the inning over. A good start for the Tigers with 3 in the first. Royals batting order as John Jay will lead it off. That's a good thing for the Royals, hitting 350 when he leads off an inning. Salvador Perez right there in that cleanup spot, and then providing some punch at the bottom of the order. Alex Gordon, one of the hottest bats in that lineup for Kansas City since coming off the disabled list. CJ, he's been hard to stop.
It's been good to see too after a couple of rough years for Alex Gordon. When he signed that deal, comes back to the Kansas City Royals. They were thrilled, and the production just wasn't there for a couple of seasons.
Here's John Jay, the DH today. And the first pitch from Jordan Zimmerman. Misses outside with a fastball for ball 1. Jay inside now, the count even 1-1 on John Jay. 29 singles this year. Only 3 extra base hits for Jay. Out in front, 2-1. In the air to left. Jones in foul ground, leaping up and almost had a play on that one. Jacoby Jones climbing the wall.
Everybody you talk to around this organization, when you talk about Jacoby Jones, the first thing they mention is his athleticism. Now, well, he moves around the outfield, and he tried to show it off here as he tries to jump the wall. And I think for most outfielders, they're watching that ball go into the stands, and Jones wanted to at least give it a whirl. He didn't have a chance to get it, but you could see it a little bit as he went after that ball, as he goes up on the wall. And I'm sure we'll see some more of it this afternoon as he shows off that athleticism. Let's take a look at the numbers for Jordan Zimmerman. A couple of rough years for him starting off, but you see this year a little bit better. The ERA is certainly high, but the strikes to walks are very important with him. High batting average at 2.80, but the swings and misses, 280. The swings and misses have really increased for Jordan Zimmerman. That has been a good sign. Right now comes into this one with a 9.2 strikeout per 9 rate. That would be a career high for him. You think about those good years that he had with the Washington Nationals and how things have been a little rough here for him with the Tigers. That is an encouraging sign. ERA, of course, needs to be a little bit better, but you can dig in and see some positive things that have happened for Jordan Zimmerman this year.
Swing and a miss, and there's the first strikeout. Tied up John Jay inside, and there's one away in the Royals after the first.
Let's take a look at the defense for the Tigers this afternoon. Behind Zimmerman, it's Jones, Martinez, and Castellanos in the outfield. And on the infield, it'll be Candelario, Iglesias, Machado, Hicks at first, and James McCann behind the plate this afternoon.
Tigers fans will see a lot more of Hicks at first with Cabrera on the DL. And with that in mind, having to play what were their two catchers. They brought up Grayson Griner from the minors yesterday as Jorge Soler out in front. 1 ball, no strikes, settles in. 2-0 now on Jorge Soler, enjoying the longest hitting streak of his career entering play today, 10 games.
He's been swinging a good bat. Another guy off to a little bit of a slow start with his Royals career has seemed to really turn things around so far this season. They have been thrilled.
Sky high pop on the infield. Iglesias and Machado eyeing it, fighting the sun, and it'll be Iglesias who makes the catch for out number 2.
Somebody on the launch angle for that one, please.
Let's check out our forward keys to the game, CJ.
So I have a little fun today with Sir Mix-a-Lot for the Detroit Tigers. That means Jordan Zimmerman, and part of the success that he has had this year has been going up and down in the zone with the fastball, using the off-speed pitches a little bit more. And for the Kansas City Royals, no Ks will play for them. They had the lowest strikeout rate in all of Major League Baseball, so they have been putting the ball in play. I mentioned Jordan Zimmerman, of course, enjoying a nice strikeout season so far, so that's a nice little battle, and we'll see how it ultimately finishes out. But this team has been difficult to strike out. This lineup has so far this year.
And he's getting those strikeouts differently than he did in his days at Washington. Way more fastball usage in Washington than he's using now in Detroit.
The veterans adjustment, and really almost everybody has to go through it at some point in your career. As much as you would like to think that you could start day one of your pro career with the same repertoire and usage that you have when you're done, it's just not the reality for most guys. So Jordan Zimmerman comes to that realization. Get off the fastball a little bit. He's got some nice numbers when he has been staked to a 3-0 lead. He's lost just 2 of those games in his career, but he's made some really nice adjustments.
3-1 on Moustakas. Zimmerman coming off arguably his best start as a Tiger. Last game against Tampa, 7 innings, 2 hits, didn't allow a run, only walked 1 batter and struck out 5. Walks Moustakas here with 2 out, and that'll keep the inning alive for Salvador Perez. For 6 in the series for Perez, hitting .292 on the year. Boy, they were happy to get him back off the disabled list. He strained his left knee ligaments when he got home from spring training this year. He was carrying his bags upstairs, and he strained his left knee after getting home and had to sit on the bench for a few days as he sky highs this pop to Castellanos in right. Easy play for the right fielder. 1 left in the Royals' first, down 3-0. TJ Nitkowski, I'm Kevin Kugler. Good to have you with us at Kauffman Stadium. 8-9-1 for the Tigers in this second inning against right-hander Jason Hammel, who was roughed up for 3 on 4 hits, 3 of them doubles in that first inning as Iglesias steps in and looks at the first pitch just upstairs for ball 1. Iglesias hitting .211 on the year, 2 for 9 in the series. Off the corner with that fastball, and it's 1-1. Dribbler to the left side. Escobar there. And the Royals shortstop with the first out of this second inning.
Well, if you missed that first inning, first of all, what were you doing? Second of all, let's show you exactly what happened. And the Tigers got things started with a base hit. And then, as you mentioned, the 3 doubles. One after another. Victor Martinez after Nick Castellanos. And then pitch chimes in as well. And the Tigers came out swinging it this afternoon. 3 runs in that first. Those 4 hits.
That was a rarity this year for Jason Hammel. In fact, it hadn't happened until today. As the number 9 hitter Dixon Machado fouls off the first offering, 0-1.
So you think Iglesias got jammed there a little bit on that call?
Maybe he wanted to do that little tiny slow roller to short.
I mean, that ball got way in on him.
Machado looking at the 0-1. It's strike 2. The 0-2. Bouncer to Moustakas. Nice backhand. 2 gone. And the first Moose chant in Kansas City.
Well, they love him here, and understandably so. He sets a franchise record with home runs last season, and then it looked like he may be on his way to another organization, and it worked out really well for them, at least, that he had to come back for a year. So he does a nice job on that back pick and a strong throw. It's been a good season so far for Mike Moustakas. You could understand if he might be a little bit upset the way that the winter had gone. It was a strange winter for sure for a lot of free agents.
He did not get the attention he thought he would coming off that All-Star season. Nice pick on the short hop at second, and that's an excellent play by Goins. A 7-pitch inning for Hammel in the second. By Hankook Tire, chase down your passion, never halfway. And by Ford, going further so you can. Back in Kansas City, a 3-0 lead for the Tigers, bottom of the second, due to Almonte and Gordon for the Royals against Jordan Zimmerman. And the first pitch swinging, Lucas Duda to right center. Converging on it out there is Martinez. He makes the catch. One pitch, one out for Jordan Zimmerman here in the Tiger bottom half of the second inning.
And Jordan Zimmerman will certainly take that, trying to keep a quick pace. Again, he knows the idea here is these guys are going to come out swinging. They're going to put the ball in play. And so you take advantage of that. Try to work the corners. I mentioned, of course, mixing it up is going to be very important to him. That's been a big key to success so far. These things that he's done well at times this season, certainly in that last start.
3 of the first 5 Royals have swung at that first pitch. See what Almonte does here, and he takes the first pitch for a strike. Abraham Almonte showing bunt. Candelario in on the grass at third. Look at the defense. 0-2 on the Royals center fielder.
So when we see a defensive alignment like that, it almost throws you off. I mean, you had the third baseman in a little bit, but for the most part, relatively standard. There it is.
Statcast powered by AWS. Showing you the lineup in the field. Did not go on appeal to Jeff Nelson at third. Swing and a miss. Second strikeout for Jordan Zimmerman. And there's 2 gone in the second.
Take a look here at this pitch from Jordan Zimmerman. Looked like a slider. Didn't have a lot of depth to it. And a lot of times really good pitchers know how to manipulate that pitch where you can get on top of it a little bit more, get some of that downward action. You can leave it a little bit more horizontal if you want, knowing the hitter. And when you go righty to lefty, you're perfectly fine leaving it flat like that if you can get it in. Add a little bit of depth, but he can certainly make that thing a little bit bigger too.
2 down for Alex Gordon. First pitch swinging again. And down a strike, 0-1. The average for Gordon at 304 on the year, but 370 since coming off the disabled list. It's 13 games, and Alex Gordon is not a guy who does well with downtime in the middle of the season.
Well, not too many guys like sitting around and watching their team play when they're hurt, but Ned Yost was quick to point that out as well. So he needed to get back out there as quickly as possible.
And a little looper to the second baseman, Machado, ends the inning for the Royals. An 8-pitch inning for Zimmerman. 3-0 Tigers. Top half of the third, Tigers with 3 in the first and a 3-0 lead. Candelario, Nicholas Castellanos, and Victor Martinez here in the third. And Candelario looks at the first pitch strike from Jason Hammel. 0 for 1 today. Candelario striking out after the Martin leadoff single in the first, and then back-to-back doubles plated the first 2 runs, and a third double by Hicks completed the scoring in the first.
We mentioned earlier how well Nick Castellanos has done against the Royals. Well, how about Candelario? His 14 games played so far. He's got some very nice numbers against his club.
In the air to center. Almonte got a good read. Comes in for the easy catch, and there's one gone. There were over 42,000 hits in the 2017 season, but all you need is one to keep the streak alive. Download Beat the Streak today and compete to win $5.6 million. Go to MLB.com/BTS or download Beat the Streak in the App Store today.
Sounds easy, doesn't it?
It does. I mean,
really,
just need one for $5.6 million.
Of course you can pick a guy that's going to get a hit every day. So many hits in the game, although not a ton this year,
No.
maybe.
Can I pick a guy who's going to strike out?
Yeah. You'd be an instant millionaire if that were the case.
Castellanos had a run-scoring double in the first. Looks at strike one.
You know, we joke about it, but it is a trend right now in the game. And yeah, is it safe to say that it's a concern? I mean, a lot of people are talking about it. A .245 batting average for the league coming into this one, and the batting average through April was the lowest we've seen since 1968.
And if it holds at .245, which is what it was entering Friday, it'll be the lowest overall in a season. Now, obviously, a lot of baseball to play, warmer months ahead, but 1972, the last time you saw that. We're seeing more strikeouts than hits per game now.
And you remember, you know, in 1968, that last year that we saw it at least for the first month of the season, so they made some changes to the mound. Bob Gibson dominating.
Into the gap in right center. That's going to drop down. Rounding first is Castellanos, and he's going to get into second. He'll round second, headed for third, and Castellanos sliding in safely at third with one out in the Tiger third.
Castellanos does it again, and this is an impressive double. We'll take a look at the pitch first. The location, pretty much where Salvador Perez asked for it. Two-seam fastball, backdoor away, and he drills it the other way. And also excellent base running here by Nick Castellanos. As soon as he saw that Almonte was not going to get to that ball, he's thinking triple absolutely, and he takes off and he gets it. That's a nice job, good hustle. Third, you should see it there, triple of the season for Nicholas Castellanos. So you always go hard out of the box, and coaches will tell you, think a base ahead. You know you got a single, think double. You know you have a double, think triple. You never know what's going to happen, and as soon as someone bobbles the ball or misplays it, you're in position to take that extra base.
And it has been an extra base kind of day for the Tigers. 4 of their 5 hits have been for extra bases today. Martinez had one of those. He doubled in a run back in the first. And the infield in with one out here in the third. 1-1 the count for Victor Martinez.
This is actually something that just popped in my mind I hadn't thought about. You're looking at right now the infield in for the Kansas City Royals. This, of course, has been something that's been going on for years. Would you consider this a shift? I mean, obviously,
it's a shift from the norm.
Everybody is out of their standard position.
Two balls and a strike. I don't think anybody who watches a lot of baseball would consider this a shift because we've seen it so often.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everyone's
but you're
in,
right.
You know, everyone's in, what, 15, 20 feet or so, depending, especially the middle infielders. A lot easier to get a base hit in these situations. Ground ball more likely to get through.
The 2-1. Moustakas nearly snared it on a line. Martinez does not run well, so he's got time to get the out at first. An excellent play by Moustakas to save a run. 2 gone in the third.
Well, you're right. This is a pretty tremendous play when you're up in front of the bag and the ball is hit as hard as Victor Martinez hit it. It's going to get on you in a hurry, but watch Mike Moustakas get up, almost catch this thing cleanly. Now, he knows he has time with Victor Martinez running. If you're Nick Castellanos, that's good base running. Again, you freeze on the line drive. No chance at scoring. Good play by Mike Moustakas. It goes down as a 5-3, but it really was so much more.
So now 2 down for Jacoby Jones, and a mighty cut puts him down 0-1. 259 the average for Jones, who flew out to center in the first. In the air on the right side, drifting out as Goins. Coming in is Soler, and Soler with a much easier play makes the catch, and the runner stranded at third in the third. Triple helping the Tigers off to this 3-0 start. As we begin the bottom of the third, Alcides Escobar in the batter's box takes the first pitch for a strike from Jordan Zimmerman.
Escobar was one of those free agents as well. They had so many last year. They were able to bring at least a couple of them back, 4 key pieces to their World Series runs that they had, 2014 and 15. Of course, 15 they won it all. It was Escobar, Moustakas, Hosmer, Kane. Lorenzo Kane and Eric Hosmer have since moved on.
Escobar was great in that ALCS. In fact, the MVP in 2015 in the ALCS, hit just under 500. Pacing the Royals onto the World Series. In the air, shallow center. Martin coming on, got a good jump. He's played an excellent defensive center field really throughout his career, but certainly this year. Last November, Royals manager Ned Yoslife was on the line. He fell from a tree stand at his farm in Merriweather, Georgia. Was airlifted to a trauma center in Atlanta. He was operated on for over 2 hours by surgeon Mara Schenker. She had no idea who he was. Last Saturday, the Royals invited her and her team to Kansas City to throw out the first pitch. Ned Yost certainly appreciative of the good work she did.
Really an amazing story when you think about what happened and when Ned Yost talks about it. And really, I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. He essentially said that there's a good chance he may have passed away that afternoon had that not happened, and had that life-saving surgery and cell phone with him to help save the day. It's really amazing, and certainly everybody is happy that it came out the way that it did, and he's back here and he's managing, and to have that opportunity to bring that medical staff back, certainly very cool.
Well, I think what's even more impressive is you saw that video. he was the guy behind the plate catching that first pitch. I mean, you're talking about a guy who wasn't sure what was going on as he fell out of that tree stand. He knew he was injured badly. Dr. Schenker did an excellent job with her team in putting Ned Yost back together. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Ryan Goins. Back to the top of the order next in John Jay, but a good start for Jordan Zimmerman, who has enjoyed tremendous run support all year long. Second in Major League Baseball, over 8.5 runs per game. And he gets his 3rd strikeout. Now 2 gone in the 3rd.
Take a look at the pitch here from Jordan Zimmerman. There's the slider grip. Call that the backdoor slider. Just a little bit of movement to it, not a lot. Keep it away. We're just looking for that little late life at the end to catch the outside corner, and that's exactly what he did. And it's an interesting pitch. It's a good pitch when you can execute it. When you go the other way, the outside part of the plate. It's dangerous, though. That ball comes back over the plate. You see it all the time.
With a changeup on the first offering to John Jay, who struck out swinging in the first. 1-1. That changeup was a good weapon for Zimmerman his last time out against Tampa, CJ. He'd only thrown 3 in his previous start, but really mixed his pitches better last time out. 13 changeups in that 7-inning stint against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think something he's starting to understand about himself a little bit, and using that off speed. He'd pretty much been fastball, slider, sinker, sliders, kind of the pitcher that Jordan Zimmerman was over those years. He had some great success. This helps a little bit.
It does.
Some run support, 8.5 runs per game. Yeah, I'd sign up for that.
Jordan Zimmerman's not giving it back.
And, you know, that's, listen, when you have an ERA that's near 6 like he does, but you don't have any losses, that's certainly going to be part of the reason. And we've seen it here this afternoon, how good this offense can be. We saw it in that first inning without Miguel Cabrera. That's the other part of it.
And without Miguel Cabrera over the course of his career in Detroit, it's been a problem for the Tigers to score runs. They score over half a run fewer in the games he doesn't play than the games he does play throughout the course of his long career. And John Jay with a 2-out walk. Second walk issued by Zimmerman. 2 away. And here's some of the numbers with and without Miguel Cabrera in the starting lineup. And there's a large body of work to look at since 2008. And it is a stark contrast with or without one of the greats.
And it's not even just his production, what he is doing, but also then as a opposing pitcher, how you attack the lineup. All right, you got to pick your spots, of course, when you have Miguel Cabrera in that lineup. Do you go after him? Do you go after the next guy? Well, when he's not in that lineup, you no longer have to make that decision. So that's one hitter that you can be a little bit more careful with in the Tiger lineup. So no doubt the presence is missed when he's not there.
He had that bicep strain earlier in the week, came back here in Kansas City, and then hurt his hamstring and went on the disabled list. 1-1 on Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler turned it into one of the great stories in Major League Baseball if he can keep it up. Came over from the Cubs in the Wade Davis trade a year ago, a trade that last year looked very lopsided in the Cubs' favor, but Soler's starting to tip the balance of that trade. Wade Davis obviously no longer in Chicago. And Jorge Soler having a fantastic start to the season.
And the way that Ned Yost talked about him today, and Ned Yost is a pretty even keel guy, doesn't show a ton of emotion. It was his version of getting excited, which is an average version of getting excited. About, you know, the way I got excited about that press box cookie that I ate today. That's about how much emotion he showed, but he is thrilled with what they have seen from Soler, the adjustments that he has made. But not only that, and I was fascinated by this conversation with him, was the work that he is doing in preparing himself, using the data that's available. He has become passionate, as Jorge Soler, about acquiring data, coming up with a game plan, and then executing that game plan during games, and it has really paid off.
Part of the maturation of Jorge Soler as a baseball player, not only from his work at the plate, but his work in the field. And Ned Yost was almost as proud of his work in the field as he is his work at the plate. You see the numbers last season. And no sugarcoating it. It was abysmal. 144 last year in 35 games. He made the route back and forth on I-29 between Omaha and Kansas City. Runner goes on the 3-2 and a swing and a miss, and Soler down on strikes. 4 strikeouts for Zimmerman, who's got a 3-0 lead. Pitch at the top of the 4th. Just misses off the outer edge of the plate. Oh, caught the corner, 0-1 to John Hicks. James McCann and Jose Iglesias to follow here in the Tiger 4th, up 3-0. No balls, 2 strikes on John Hicks, who had an RBI double in the 1st. One ball, 2 strikes. Jason Hammel trying to build on a couple of scoreless innings after that 3-run first for the Tigers. He's settled down. Allowed the triple to Castellanos with 1 out in the 3rd, the only blemish since that first inning. And the 1-2. Tied him up, and that is strike 3. Second strikeout for Hammel, and there's 1 gone in the 4th. Tonight it's the Supercross finals from Las Vegas. Jason Anderson looking to secure the championship, but Marvin Musquin comes off a big win to stay within reach. It all comes down to the final race. Supercross tonight, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on FS1, or stream it live on Fox Sports Go.
We're talking about Jordan Zimmerman and the changes that he's made, right, with the repertoire as things start to change, get away from that fastball. It's a really good adjustment that we just saw from Jason Hammel as he pitches. He hits completely backwards. Slider, curveball, and then fastball down and in. I use that phrase, pitching backwards, meaning starting with your off speed, finishing a guy off with your fastball, and after the double in the 1st inning, that's a good in-game adjustment from Jason Hammel.
He's made a lot of adjustments late in his career. Changed his entire approach in the offseason. He rested his arm longer than usual over the last offseason, became a pescatarian. As the 0-1 is lined to left for a base hit.
So I don't think that's what I think it is, because that sounds like someone that'd be really pesky. So I'm sure that's not.
No,
what
it is not.
Yeah.
It's not someone who. Oh, maybe he is pesky. I don't know. A pescatarian is a vegetarian who eats fish.
Okay.
So, kind of changed his diet, rested his arm. You know, anything you can do to try to maintain an edge. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's been around a long time. 35-year-old right-hander Jason Hammel. His 6th team, the Kansas City Royals.
So I wonder if he's gotten away from. Did you ever hear that story about him when he was with the Cubs and he was dealing with some cramping, and a doctor suggested that he eat lots of potato chips to help with the cramping? And I'm like, well, I don't really have any cramping, but I'm in.
I was going to say, no one ever suggests that diet. You should eat more junk food.
We are not doctors, so we're not giving you advice. If you're dealing with any forearm cramping, I'm not telling you to go out and hammer a couple of bags of Lay's, but
Dr. Ditkowski will be on call the rest of the day here on Fox Sports 1. Hammel 14 of 17 first pitch strikes today. Iglesias down a strike. In the air to center, pretty well hit. Almonte, shading his eyes, makes the catch. And there's the second out. So Iglesias retired, McCann at first with 2 gone, and Dixon Machado making his way up now for the Tigers. For 1 with that ground ball out back in the second inning, grounding out to Moustakas at third. Nothing in 1 on Dixon Machado. They've been hitting just 193 against right-handers. You see the infield alignment. Our StatCast powered by AWS. The shift for the right-handed hitter.
I mean, it's really amazing.
It is.
He's hitting 202. You take a 202 hitter, hitting at the bottom of the order, and still gets the heavy shift. And, you know, and maybe those shifts are part of the reason why the batting average is what it is. But I think that's the part that is maybe more shocking than anything. Okay, we get shifts, extreme shifts. We see middle infielders out in shallow right field, and I think fans are starting to get a little bit used to that. Machado's a career 233 hitter, and he gets the heavy shift.
Can't imagine he's seeing that regularly across baseball.
Probably not. You know, we highlighted, of course, that the Royals use the second most shifts in the game. And then you wonder what it does to a guy, right? So obviously they see a tendency where more ground balls are going to the left side of the infield. Do you try to change your approach, right? That's the battle for a lot of these guys. And there
he does. Tries to change his approach and pokes it into right center for a base hit. McCann will stop at second, and maybe Machado will stop the shift with a base hit to right.
So that's a -1 on the plus minus as far as hits prevented and hits given. And it's a good job. Now, what's also interesting, I think, is when you look at these shifts is pitch selection. And you're Jason Hammel, it's a slider away. Now, if he tries to pull it, he's going to roll over and hit your ground ball to the left side, but he's probably not going to hit it that hard. But if he decides to take that approach, you see how he didn't hit that ball very hard at all, and you don't have to when you're trying to go the other way. Now, when you're dealing with a big power hitter, that's a little bit of a different story. That guy's going to swing hard. You don't want him to really change his approach too much. If you're a 9-hole hitter, you're hitting around 200, it's probably a good idea.
Rub your eyes a little bit when you come to the plate and see that shift. That's the number 9-hole hitter hitting a little above 200.
Yeah, maybe you you look into the other dugout, Ned Yost, and point up to the big screen and say, hey, you see those numbers up there? You sure you want to shift on me?
The 0-1 to Martinez stays up and in. 1-1 the count. Fastball high for Jason Hammel there. Round pick by Tampa Bay all the way back in 2002 for Hammel. Signed with Kansas City before the 2017 season and the back end of a 2-year deal this year. The 1-1. 2 balls and a strike on Martinez. Career numbers for Jason Hammel, 92 and 103. 15-10 a couple years ago on that Cubs 2016 World Series team, however, was not on the postseason roster.
He's had some good years. He's been a very serviceable, good middle of the rotation guy you can rely on, starting pitcher. The knock on him a little bit, it's not a knock, but it's something he's tried to work against and has tried to fight, is he is one of those guys, and Joe Madden really painted him in a corner where he'd not allow him to go third time through the order. And he got really frustrated by it, and understandably so. You want all of your pitchers to be frustrated. You never want them to be satisfied coming out of a game just because it's third time through the order. But something that's kind of stuck with him a little bit, I think that he has been trying to prove otherwise, that he can be counted on to go through the order a third time.
Martin, hard hit ball to Duda, who gobbles it up, takes it to the bag, and the Tigers leave 2 on in the 4th. Nikowski, I'm Kevin Kugler. Our entire FS1 crew today in beautiful Kansas City. It'll be Moustakas, Perez, and Duda for the Royals in the 4th. Second time through the heart of the order for Jordan Zimmerman, who's only allowed 2 base runners on 2 walks today. Moustakas down a strike, 0-1. 297 the average for Mike Moustakas. 8 homers, 20 runs driven in. And there is a liner right into the shift.
That's the one that always gets me, right? You have one guy on the left side of the infield, and you hit the ball right at him. It's incredible.
Candelario with the liner, and Jordan Zimmerman's been awfully sharp early.
He certainly has. It's been a good day, and he looks like he is on. Talk about mixing those pitches, and he certainly has so far here this afternoon. See the strikeouts on the sliders, the good locations, going below the zone, taking advantage of some of that aggressiveness. And I mentioned it, this Kansas City Royals lineup, not an easy one to strike out, but so far for Jordan Zimmerman, some pretty good numbers. So you see it there. 0 groundouts though so far today, but he'll take it. Zeros are zeros, and any way that you can get them, and probably not that surprising. Jordan Zimmerman came into this one with a 37% ground ball rate. League average is right around 44–45%. So a below average ground ball type pitcher. 0 double plays this year. Ground ball double plays behind Jordan Zimmerman.
The 1-1 to Perez. And that's not going to be a ground ball out either. Popped up behind the bag at second. And Machado there for out number 2. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand at home, in the office, or on the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB At-Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
Those pop-ups look difficult today. These guys are battling the sun. Was it Soler that hit that mile-high one to Iglesias in the first inning?
There's a line drive hit hard to right. Castellanos going back at the wall, looks up, and it's off the top of the wall. He can't find it, and Duda will coast into second with a 2-out double, the first hit of the afternoon for the Kansas City Royals.
Well, this is a tough play as Castellanos was trying to battle that sun and the wall. Very difficult too when you get in these spots and you look away, as he does right there. You see a great shot of it, then trying to find the wall and find that ball again. And I think he would tell you under normal circumstances he probably could catch that ball, at least make a run at it. I mean, it's up there a little bit, but a little bit of a harder time timing himself as he was battling that sun and getting a feel. And nevertheless, it is a double, second one for Lucas Duda this season.
That gives Abraham Almonte a chance with 2 out to plate the first Royal run. Ball in the air off the bat of Duda was the 17th that went in the air out of 34 batters today. So this has been a day where infield and outfield alike have had to peer up into that high sky. And it's not been easy today. 1-1 on Abraham Almonte, who struck out swinging in the second. Wave and a miss, and it's 1-2. Royals have been trying to figure out how to solve this all year long. The lowest batting average with runners in scoring position this season in baseball belongs to Kansas City. They may be on pace to get it figured out a little bit, though, over the last 7 games, hitting .290 with runners in scoring position.
It's an important stat. I know we get away from batting average a little bit, and some people say, well, does it really matter in those circumstances? It certainly does.
Going back on this one and left is Jones to make the play, and the inning over. Runner left at second for the Royals, who trail by 3. Kansas City, great way to start your celebration.
Now, the only other place I could think of with the baseball tie-in could be that Dodger-Padre game in, what are they, Monterrey, Mexico? Is that right? I believe.
How do you back up what happened there last night with a combined no-hitter?
You probably cannot, but it certainly was a pretty exciting series. I talked to Adam Libator today, the reliever who finished off that combined no-hitter for the Dodgers. He said the atmosphere there was incredible. He said the facilities were fantastic. That's always something you worry about a little bit. You know, you have some of these series that Major League Baseball likes to have, which are great, those international initiatives, but you would assume that probably a lot of times the facilities would be a step down. He said they've been unbelievable there.
In the air to right center field. Almonte and Soler going back. It's Almonte at the wall, makes the catch for the first down of the 5th. Candelario with a good drive there, just left it a little short, and there's one gone.
Tell you what, it sounded pretty good off the bat, and this ballpark will eat up home runs. It's a big one. There's a lot of acreage out here in Kauffman Stadium. But then at the same time, for these Tiger hitters and for Candelario, it's like, well, yeah, that's also a fly ball at Comerica Park in Detroit, which is also a pretty big ballpark, especially to right center.
A good conversation with Ron Gardenhire earlier today about, as you look at the dimensions of Kauffman Stadium, about how he's going to try to build this Tiger team or rebuild this Tiger team and use Comerica Park to his advantage. And he's given that a lot of thought, and as he's still learning everything in this system in his first year helming the Tigers. It's a pretty good guy to have in charge of building this Tiger team back up. He's got a great track record, so many good seasons with the Twins, won the Central 6 out of 9 years at one stretch in there.
Well, I'm with you, and I think that is kind of interesting because our sport generally doesn't do that, right? We think about the draft. It's not like the NFL or the NBA, you know, especially the NFL. Like, what position do you need? You usually just go after the best player available, and you don't really think about your ballpark. You don't really think about your team's need when it comes to drafting. But when it comes to player development, it makes sense in saying, listen, if we expect these guys to be Tigers, well, if they're hitting the ball in the air all the time, that's going to be a disadvantage for them when we're home, when we're in Kansas City. Teams that are in our division, that could be a problem. You know, launch angle and getting the ball in the air, we understand the value of that, and it's been a lot of what has been talked about in our game, but there are certain ballparks and certain teams that it doesn't make a lot of sense to have your player development people focusing on hitting the ball in the air.
Comerica is certainly one of those places.
And they even brought it in. I mean, those bullpens used to not be there. I played there, you had to hit it all the way over those bullpens to count it as a home run.
It's still a good poke, especially out to right and right center.
Yep. A lot of guys got frustrated. Remember that first year we opened up that ballpark in 2000, and it continues now here in 2018. Well, you'll hit a ball just like Candelario just hit, and I thought that really had a chance. And same thing in Comerica, and it doesn't get close. Those balls die in right center field.
The 2-2 and a swing and a miss, and for the first time today, Hammel able to retire Castellanos, who had doubled and tripled, but now the third strikeout for Hammel.
A good adjustment here for Hammel as Castellanos has had a good day, elevating the fastball. Not exactly where he intended, as you see the Salvador Perez glove. He actually wanted that ball down, but you know what? There's certain misses that you're going to get away with. Now, had he missed maybe by only 2 feet and that ball split the plate, that could have been a problem. But he misses by 4 instead and accidentally elevates. As you see, the ball to strike ratio right now for Jason Hammel working out extremely well. 74% strikes. It's almost too many.
And Martinez with an inside out swing to the left, and Victor Martinez is having himself a good couple of days here. It was 3-hit day yesterday, 2 hits here today, and he's aboard with 2 out.
Now, this guy is a really tough at bat, and we'll show you what he has done so far in this series. He can do that to you, or he takes you the other way. He can do this, where he finds something that he likes and threads the needle through the shift. Another line drive to right field. Doesn't change the approach based on the shift, but he changes it based on pitch location. And this guy is so good at grinding out at bats every pitch. I remember a couple of years ago when Brad Osmos was here as the manager, told me that he had never seen a hitter like Victor Martinez in the sense that he doesn't take a pitch off. It's like it's pretty difficult to not do that. You get down, it's such a mental grind, 162 games over the course of a full season. It is easy to give at-bats away. He said he's never even seen Victor Martinez give a pitch away when he had him here. And you see what he has done so far this season as a lefty, spreading it all around left, center, and right.
I'd say he's out of his slump. He's 5 for his last 6. He was 4 for his previous 39 at-bats before the last 2 days. But professional hitters don't languish too long in those slumps, and Victor Martinez is a professional hitter.
He certainly is. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's just a tough at-bat, man. He's just really difficult. And Jason Hammel came out, just went, go ahead and throw him a first pitch fastball with nobody on, 2 outs, and gladly lined it to left.
1-1, jammed him as he floats that one to short. Escobar there to make the catch. the inning over, and Martinez left at first.
I score a 3-0. Take a look at this. Some adjustments from a year ago. Look at the Alex Gordon stance. You see him a little bit more straight up in 2018, and it certainly has paid off for him. The swing is looking reminiscent of the old Alex Gordon, and when we talked to Ned Yost about it, we always try to dig in. What's different? Sometimes nothing's different. Sometimes the guy's just hitting better. But he actually talked about the tempo in the swing. You'll hear about that a lot as well. We talk about it with pitchers so often, their ability to keep an even tempo, but they just believe that they're seeing a little bit better pace, a little bit of tempo in that swing. Timing has been really good for Alex Gordon, and it's good to see him get things turned around. They signed him back a couple of years ago, right after the World Series run. Everyone thought, well, Alex Gordon's gone. He's going to command way too much money on the free agent market, and they were able to get it done. And that was new for Kansas City and their fans, to see a guy sign a 4-year, $72 million deal. Unfortunately, the first couple of seasons just did not go well at all for Alex Gordon. 220 the first year, 208 last year.
Then he tore the labrum in his left hip early this year, opted for no surgery. Had a similar injury to his right hip all the way back in 2009. He's happy he opted for no surgery. He's swinging the bat well as that one breaks the bat, 1-2. And Alex Gordon will get a new piece of lumber.
Can you imagine, though? I mean, think about how that would feel, whether you're the player or whether you're a Royals fan. Super thrilled a couple of years ago that Alex Gordon is back. Doesn't go well. And then you hear about this injury, and you're immediately thinking, boy, this is just going to be another disastrous year. And I can't believe this didn't work out, because he's, he's a local kid, too, right? They love him here in Kansas City. I say local to the Midwest. To the like local Midwest is different than maybe local in a coastal city, maybe, or a bigger city. You know,
about 3 hours up the road in Lincoln, Nebraska.
It takes you just a couple minutes to get there, but local in that sense.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
They were thrilled to have him back. It was hard to get answers. You would ask people in the organization, what's going on with Alex Gordon? I don't know. He hasn't been the same. So it's really good to see him get off to this start so far this year.
And Gordon with a line drive, well hit to right. Castellanos was right there. Can't hit a ball much harder than Gordon hit that one on a line. And there's 1 away here in the 5th. Alcides Escobar stepping up with 1 out here in the Royals' 5th, down 3-0. 1 hit today for Kansas City against Jordan Zimmerman. 35 strikes, 25 balls. Very efficient 60 pitch count for Zimmerman as we play with 1 out here in the 5th.
Yeah, pitch count has been great. Strike percentage has been pretty low, and that's what's been kind of interesting to watch here.
Royals have been very aggressive. Put 9 balls in the air for outs today.
Look at from a percentage standpoint, just 58% strikes. That's a really low number, and especially for a guy that's pitching well right now and has only allowed 1 hit through 4 in the 3rd. League average, you want to be around 62, 63% on your strikes. I mentioned Jason Hammel at 74. Well, above average, maybe too many today. And if you're not going to get calls like that, I could see why.
That's true.
Strike percentage might be low. That looked pretty good.
Laz Diaz behind the plate disagreed with C.J. Nickowski.
Yeah, he did. How about that, Laz? I'll talk to him later. We'll get it figured out. Sure, he'd love to have that conversation.
He was a Marine. I'm not sure you'd like to have that conversation. The 1-1 is outside 2-1.
That's a good point. One of the good guys, and there are a lot of good guys. And umpires, one thing that I remember years ago, an umpire telling me, he said, CJ's like, people don't forget, we never have a home game. They're pretty much, no matter where we are universally disliked. We don't get to play in front of the home crowd where people are happy to see us. And that made me a little bit more empathetic toward umpires. Not much.
I was going to say a little bit
Tiny
being
like
the key
that.
phrase
Went
there.
from 0 to 2% on the empathy scale.
Laz Diaz did a good job counseling last night in the game. Ball hit down the line. It was a fair ball for the Royals, and the ball boy in the corner down the right field line didn't know it was a fair ball. He thought it was foul, grabbed it, there he is, grabbed it, and handed it to a fan in the stands. When he realized it, he put his head in his glove. I think he wanted a hole to open up out there that would swallow him whole. And in between innings, Laz Diaz went out and had a long conversation with him about what in the world happened there, and they had some laughs and smiles about it.
It really is an awful feeling. So that guy that we showed you was the bat boy now for today. There's the ball boy down the line. Nowhere to go. You're right. If something bad happens, you might as well just try to dig a hole in the track because there is nowhere to hide when you're down there.
That's the look that the guy who was out there last night had right after it happened.
I guess you go behind the tarp maybe.
Here it is from last night.
There.
Watch this. He's thinking he's doing his job. Hey, here you go, youngster.
Oh, man.
Congrats on a ball. Jorge Soler runs over. There's Laz Diaz providing the counseling in between innings.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Laz Diaz, and I'm sure that ball boy appreciated it.
Poor kid. No. I'm sure he appreciates us bringing it up again.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I've never done that job. I always wanted to as a kid. Thought that would have been the coolest job ever.
Who wouldn't want to do that job as a kid?
Get to play catch with big league outfielders, right? All that and warm them up.
Well, the worst part is he has to go into the clubhouse afterwards. I'm sure he heard nothing about that from any of the Royals.
Yeah, baseball players are generally, they don't like to really bust chops too much.
No. Fouled away.
You better have some thin skin, whether you're wearing a uniform as a player, as a coach, or even if you are a bat boy, clubhouse attendant. Nobody is off limits.
Made a little better because the Royals won yesterday.
That helps. And it didn't affect the game in any kind of big negative way. It wasn't a Steve Bartman situation.
8th pitch of the at-bat coming. This is the longest at-bat today for Zimmerman. And he'll have to work at least one more pitch as the count goes full 3-2. The one hit came in the 4th. Lucas Duda with a 2-out double. He's walked a pair today. Both walks have come with 2 out. The 3-2. And there is walk number 3, this time with 1 out. Tomorrow, the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series moves to FS1. Catch all the action from Dover's Monster Mile, sponsored by Drive for Autism. Coverage begins 12:30 Eastern on FS1 or stream it live on Fox Sports Go.
So this game is great, right? Because you and I, we study numbers, we get ideas, look for trends, and we thought we have a pretty good idea on how the game will go. We just saw that long at-bat. Alcides Escobar, far and away, sees the fewest amount of pitches of anybody on this Royals team. Just 3.4 per at-bat.
So you're saying the numbers never lie.
Yeah, and he's really difficult to walk. That was always been the knock on Escobar. Remember those years where Nedjos would continue to have him at the top of the lineup, and people would be like, why would you bat this guy at the top of the lineup when he has a really hard time getting that on-base percentage over 300? It's 294 for his career. He doesn't see a lot of pitches. Nothing says leadoff hitter in what he does. And he said, well, when he leads off, we win. And at the end of the day, it's about winning. And you can't argue with it. And he's got the ring to prove it when it's all said and done. But that is not an easy thing to do what Jordan Zimmerman just did right there.
0-1 to Goins, slicing that one foul and out of play, 0-2. First year with the Royals for Goins after 5 years in Toronto. He was signed to a minor league deal this year, made the team. A 4th round pick back in 2009. Escobar back in. This is not a big base stealing team, this Royals squad. We were talking with Ned Yost about that earlier. John Jay, terrific base runner. The guy can get a stolen base or two, but this is just not a team that runs a ton. In the air to center. Martinez is there. 2 down. Today, of course, we're featuring the Detroit Tigers in our FS1 game of the week. The Tigers' list of franchise Hall of Famers will grow by 2 this summer.
I was always the kid with the strongest arm, whether it was youth ball or high school or junior high.
Got him.
My first love was baseball. And as a youngster, baseball was #1, and that was the only thing on my mind.
An extended video feature on the careers of Jack Morris and Alan Trammell, both headed for Cooperstown, found all day today on FoxSports.com as a base hit for John Jay puts runners at first and second with 2 out for the Royals. Second hit today for Kansas City. Trying to get a 2-out rally going with Jorge Soler coming to the plate.
That'll be a special worth watching. I was fortunate enough to play with Alan Trammell at the very end of his career. Actually got to play with him and Lou Whitaker. Watch them break the record for most games played by teammates together. And Alan Trammell is certainly well deserving of the induction. I think you could make a case for Lou Whitaker as well, who just did not get the love from voters when he was eligible. To spend a little time with Jack Morris on the broadcasting side. He's tremendous, and look forward to seeing that, listening to those guys talk. You want a little bit of throwback about winning games.
Soler with a line drive down the left field line, and that ball is just foul. Boy, is Jorge Soler confident at the plate right now, CJ.
He certainly is, and he's smiling, and he almost made this really big ballpark look small as he hit that hard line drive down the left field line. That's the one area, and there's not a lot of room because it jets out pretty quickly, but it's a little bit tight down the lines where it starts to curve in. We've got to look at the side swing, and you see him get the head out front just a tiny bit too much as he hooked it. Just barely foul. So the balls come in. You want to sneak one out. That's pretty much the one spot you can do it in this ballpark.
Since you paid your taxes on April 15th,
right?
Soler's been hitting .389 since tax day. With runners in scoring position this year, hitting .333. Soler came through last night. 2-run single to provide the difference in the Royals' 4-2 win. Trying to get him on the board with 2 out here in the 5th. Even in the count 1-1.
He's been good with runners in scoring position this year. .333, an opportunity, of course, right now, as we talked about earlier, struggle at times for this club.
Most work Zimmerman's had so far today. 22 pitches in the inning. And the 1-1 to Soler misses low and away. 2-1. Trying to get Soler to chase, and there was a time through a good portion of his career that Soler would have chased a pitch like that.
Yeah, discipline is something that takes some time, and a lot of times it is more about confidence and your ability to let certain pitches go, trust yourself in spots, and Jorge Soler has certainly worked on that. He's been a different guy. Even though Zimmerman did get him swinging a pitch out of the zone in his last at bat.
2-1, bouncer foul. Now even 2-2 on Jorge Soler.
I love the access that we have to great numbers and things like swing percentage, which will tell you about a hitter and how often he goes out of the zone. And Jorge Soler this year has been very good, just 22% of the time. It's a good number for him, for a guy with power who can be a little bit of a free swinger.
At one point earlier in the week, his walk rate, had it stayed that way for the rest of the year, would have been 4th all-time in Royals history. And there is nobody that watched Jorge Soler play in the first few years of his time in the bigs that would have ever put that sentence together. The 2-2. Reaching for that one to stay alive. That's just part of that rededication he had in the offseason. Ned Yost said he just worked his tail off all winter long, both refining his swing, retooling his hitting stroke, and learning how to delve into those numbers and learning really how to take advantage of all the information he has to become a better hitter.
It's a really fair point to bring up when you talk about it. There's great information out there. It doesn't mean that every player is going to absorb it well or is even adept at taking the information in.
And again, he fouls it off. And I would think, CJ, the concern would be, at least it would be for me, that there'd be a chance to get overwhelmed with that information and think too much about it if I had all that in my head.
No doubt. And that's always something that I think coaches have to be aware of. They have to know their players. Which ones can we give a lot of information to? Which ones do we need to be careful with a little bit? And unfortunately, I say unfortunately, just not unfortunately, but part of the game now is you're going to have to learn how to manage that information as a player.
Broken bat and a slow roller to third. Up with it, Candelario, and it's dropped at first base, and everybody's safe. A catcher by trade, John Hicks playing first, has that one pop out, and the base is loaded for Mike Moustakas.
Well, that is just something you do not see every day at the big league level. And first of all, great pitch by Zimmerman and a tough at bat against Soler. This throw was up a little bit, but not much, and it just caught Hicks in the heel of the glove. I mentioned it from a defensive standpoint. He's not seen a ton of time, some at first base. This is his 24th start at first base over the course of his big league career, just his 5th this season. A little visit from Chris Bosio. Interesting, I thought, is that you don't see that too often, where your pitching coach calls the first baseman into the meeting, right? I mean, obviously your pitching coach is there to talk to your pitcher, but they wanted Hicks to come in there and be a part of it a little bit, make sure he was okay, and check in. A little word of encouragement. Don't worry about it. We'll get you through it. Zim's going to pick you up right here. That kind of stuff happening in those conversations.
And if the Royals were going to order up somebody at the plate with the bases loaded, Mike Moustakas would probably be the guy they'd ask to go up there. 2 out and a chance to turn this game around for the Royals with one swing of the bat here in the bottom of the 5th. Zimmerman starts him with a strike over the outside corner. Good changeup from Jordan Zimmerman. Moustakas 298 in his career with the bags full, as you saw a couple of grand slams. 310 this year with runners in scoring position. And the 0-1. Nothing in 2. 2 outstanding pitches on the outer edge of the plate. Moustakas thought it was a little too far off the edge of the plate.
And he probably didn't like the one before it either, and he may have a little bit of an argument on this one. It's a good job by McCann to hold that pitch there. Jordan Zimmerman's been a little bit forced to dial it in after a couple of longer at-bats this inning.
30th pitch of the inning right here. Tried to stretch that corner a little bit more. Laz Diaz wouldn't bite on that fastball, and it's 1-2 now on Moustakas.
So you got a shift here. Now you see Escobar, he's on the bag, but because of the way that the defense is set up, he is getting so far down the line. Any ball that's in the dirt that even bounces just a few feet away, he would easily score. This is one of those things that comes along with the shift.
Wave and a miss, and Zimmerman fans Moustakas with the bases loaded. Still 3-0 Tigers. runners in scoring position. Had a chance with 2 out. The bases loaded, but Jordan Zimmerman comes up with a big pitch to get Mike Moustakas swinging. Royals leave him loaded, still down 3-0 as we start the top of the 6th, and a line drive on the first pitch, snared at short by Escobar. Hicks is retired. 1 pitch, 1 out in the 6th.
It's time for Flipping the Switch, sponsored by Boost Mobile, and we'll take a look at that last inning. First, it was the Escobar walk. We talked about that, pretty amazing. You don't see it too often. Then the John Jay base hit. Soler hits a ground ball, but it's an error on the first baseman Hicks, something you don't see every day. And then Jordan Zimmerman does an excellent job of finishing off Mike Moustakas, obviously the most dangerous hitter in this lineup with the bases loaded. But Zimmerman flips the switch, shuts it down in a huge spot. You look at that when you see all those pitches like that in one spot, and oh yeah, I could see why maybe Mike Moustakas was a little bit upset with a couple of those calls.
Fell behind early, 0-2. Neither of the first 2 pitches Moustakas thought should have been called strikes.
And it's tough, it matters, and umpires have a really difficult job. There's that empathy I was telling you about. But every pitch, you think about missing a pitch, the difference between 1-0 and 0-1 with the bases loaded against Zimmerman, the way he's throwing today, it's a big deal. Changes the at-bat.
There's that shift again for a right-handed hitter. Our StatCast powered by AWS, and we've seen this all day for the Royals defensively against Tiger right-handers.
You know how we'll see shifts sometimes, and you'll see the shortstop actually go on the second base side of second, and the second baseman stay by the bag, and they do that a lot of times because the shortstop has more range and they want him to cover more ground. As we're looking at this shift, I wonder if anybody's ever been tempted to put whichever infielder they believe has the most range where Lucas Duda is right now. Again, that seems like something Joe Madden would do. Like he would put Addison Russell over there, and then the ground ball would go to Lucas Duda at short. Or not Lucas Duda, but in this case it would be Anthony Rizzo. Now that'd be a weird throw for him to have to make. But
very odd throw.
The idea of the guy that has the most range covering the area which has the least amount of defenders, because we do see that sometimes. And then your scorebook just absolutely turns into a disaster trying to mark those down.
And a liner to left, right between that shift, and a base hit for James McCann as we check in for a game break with Kevin Burkhardt. All right, Kev, thanks very much. Terrific rivalry, Cubs and Cardinals, the NL side of the Central Divisions. Here in the American League Central, Tigers and Royals in a 3-0 game. And Hammel's firing in a strike to start off the at-bat of Jose Iglesias, who's 0 for 2 today with a ground ball to short and a fly out to center. No walks in the last 98 plate appearances for Jose Iglesias, so he's up there trying to put the ball in play. And Hammel jumps out in front, 0-2.
Yeah, he's going to be a little bit of an interesting guy, I think, as we get closer to the deadline. Certainly a great glove for Iglesias. Some people have brought up the idea with Corey Seager going down, would the Dodgers be interested in that kind of rental? Danny Echeverria would be another one. Guys that are just going to be free agents at the end of this year that could fill in nicely, at least defensively. It's pretty tough to get your hands on a offensive-minded shortstop.
Foul territory. Duda near the dugout, not able to get there.
I see the Tigers getting a couple of calls like they have over the last couple of seasons with Verlander and Upton. And Iglesias is certainly a guy that could help out.
Pretty good haul last year in the Justin Wilson trade. Jamer Candelario. Well, we talked about at the top of the broadcast, both these teams are in the rebuild cycle mode, building for the future in both Kansas City and Detroit. The 0-2 stays alive, and Perez got the worst of that foul ball.
And I think you talk about those rebuilds, and they're different now for everybody. You saw what the Astros did, pretty incredible, as you watch this foul tip here. And Salvador Perez goes down, and it caught him right on his right hand. Fans don't love the word, and so GMs and executives get a little creative, retool, reset, you know, try to stay away from rebuild completely, because it does sound like it would be a long process, and there are certain teams that can have a pretty quick turnaround. We're seeing that a little bit, I think, with the Braves and the Phillies and some teams that are competing a little bit quicker than expected. Even the Cubs turned it around relatively quickly. Don't have to go all the way in and lose 100 games 3 straight years in a row, even though that did work out well for the Astros when it was all said and done. Different ways to get there.
The 0-2. One hopper to Moustakas, trying to turn 2 to second for 1, on to first, the double play. Nicely started by Moustakas, and Hammel out of the inning in the 6th, trailing 3-0. Walking 3 and striking out 5. Jason Hammel's gone 6. All 3 runs he allowed came in that first inning. Castellanos 2 for 3 with a double and a triple. But the book is going to close on Jordan Zimmerman, as Zimmerman is lifted after 5 innings for the Tigers and on for the first time this year. Left-hander Blaine Hardy just called up on Friday from AAA Toledo.
And great numbers for Hardy down there, and so he'll be back now in this bullpen with the Tigers, and there'll be some turnover this year in that pen. Hardy, a guy with a fastball that sits around 90 miles per hour. He has used a changeup, slider, and curveball. All of those a pretty decent amount, even mix on his secondary pitches throughout his career.
And he falls behind Salvador Perez 2-0. You wonder, why did he bring in the left-hander Ron Gardenhire to face the right-hander Salvador Perez? The numbers say it's not a bad move. Perez just 2 of 16 against left-hand pitching this year.
Yeah, now Salvador Perez is a guy that'll go out of the zone. He's very aggressive, and so if you get a left-hander with maybe the 2-seam fastball that's down, the changeup that is down that's moving away from him, you could see why he may struggle against lefties.
The 2-1 pitch, and Perez a liner. That ball foul just by inches. And it's 2-2.
So now on the flip side of that, because he is a free swinger, I would probably stay away from fastballs middle in. You want to take advantage of that aggressiveness.
Perez in a pretty good spot here. 2-2 on the year, hitting .346 with 2 strikes. The major league average is just .171. Salvador Perez got a good tendency to lock in and have success in a 2-strike count.
Bad ball hitter. going out of the zone. You see what he's done so far with 2 strikes. Those are impressive numbers. Rarely are you getting pitches in the zone, right, in those situations.
0 for 2 today for Perez. A fly ball to right in the first. Popped up to the second baseman, Machado. Back in the fourth. The 3-2. Now back against the screen.
If you think we're making it up, that O-swing percentage for Salvador Perez, 51% most in baseball.
Towering fly ball to shallow left. Jones waiting on it, makes the catch for the first out. We have seen some balls go sky high, infield and outfield today.
Good launch angle day if you like big numbers.
Tiger bullpen active again. Alex Wilson working for the Tigers. Left-hander Blaine Hardy, in 35 games for the Tigers last year, had split some time as a reliever and a starter down in Toledo this year as Lucas Duda looks at ball 1.
He's never made a start at the big league level, but if you look at, I think any of your guys as relievers, it's not a terrible idea. Let them make some starts, see what they got, and I think most starters will tell you the first time they go into the bullpen, I say it seems easy, but only pitching an inning from a physical standpoint doesn't seem nearly as bad after you've been stretched out, maybe making some starts. And so that certainly makes some sense, build some stamina up.
The 1-1 hit in the air to right field. Castellanos there. 2 down. Pop up to left, fly ball to right. 2 down in the inning.
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned it with Ron Gardenhire. Ballpark specific. How do you want to develop your organization? Same could be said for this organization, right? If you're going to play half of your games here, tough place to hit home runs, a lot of acreage. Would you be better off developing some contact guys? I don't mean just choking up and slapping the ball, but just maybe guys that don't hit the ball in the air as much.
12 fly ball outs by Royals hitters today as Almonte takes the first pitch in there.
And those are conversations I think that are worth having because the game always moves in one direction, and it's that one team that zags seems to find a way, right? The Oakland A's first started having this conversation, and we saw some other teams kind of looking for their own market inefficiencies, whether it meant what was available for players or in-game strategy.
Just starting to creep over the home plate area right now as the 2-0 swung on and missed. It's 2-1.
Will present a nice little challenge for these hitters here pretty soon. It's already there to some degree, but as that shadow gets out a little bit further and covers about half of the distance between the pitcher and home plate, the ball goes bright to dark. Not easy to pick up spin.
That one low. 2-2 now on Almonte. Almonte with a line drive to left, pretty well hit. Jones going back. Jones at the wall. It's gone. Third home run of the year for Almonte, and the Royals are on the board. Down 3-1 in the 6th.
Take a look at the pitch here from Hardy. Can wanted it down and in. It was elevated at 89 miles an hour. That's not going to be enough velocity to get it by Almonte up in the zone. He was all over it and not even close despite Jones. It must be nice to have that kind of energy and athleticism. He was nowhere near that ball.
The second wall we've seen him climb today. Climb the wall along the line. Try to get a foul ball earlier. That home run on a 2-2 pitch sent way out. And Alex Gordon looks at ball 1-1 now on Gordon. Almonte's third home run of the year, and big smile on his face as he gets his team on the board. 1-2 on Alex Gordon. He's reached in 15 straight, but 0 for 2 today. Stays 1-2. Just missed. Gordon holding up his swing. 2-2. Monte letting Soler know how he did it. Slow roller to second. Machado with an easy play, and the inning is over. The home run by Almonte gets the Royals on the board. 3-1 Tigers through 6. On the board, and now a 3-1 ball game as Jason Hammel goes back to work. 9-1-2 up for the Tigers. Dixon Machado fouls the first offering down the right field line. 0-1.
It's been a good day so far for Jason Hammel outside of that first inning where you saw Tigers coming in and swinging it right away. We saw those 3 doubles and 3 runs in the first inning. Since then, he has settled in very nicely, and we kept an eye on what he might do. Third time through the order, the numbers are not very good, particularly going through that third time. Batting average well into the 300s, but so far, so good today. Tiger hitters just 2 for 8 in their third at-bats.
Machado able to hold up 1-2 the count on Dixon Machado. He is the final member of that third time through. We'll cycle back to the top of the order for the Tigers with Martinez, Candelario waiting to follow here in this 7th inning. It's kind of been against the type for Jason Hammel this year. First time through, he's been really good. His struggles have come after that. Been the reverse today. 2-2. Nope. 1-3. That's the strikeout. And Machado down for the first out in the 7th. Leonis Martin Back to the top of the order as Hammel starts the 4th time through. Martin today with a single and 3 trips. Bunt that is foul. Hit him in the batter's box on the foot. 0-1.
I liked Machado's reaction there in that spot. It's like he knew. And he started going, oh, you guys thinking about maybe changing your mind? I'll come back. And then he knew. And he's like, okay, I'll see you later.
He did a terrible job of selling that there's a potential that this could be a ball.
And you listen, you wonder, I think it's human nature to think, can you influence an umpire maybe one way or another sometimes with your body language? I think it's certainly possible. These guys do a great job. But if you give up in that spot, I do think it's possible to get an umpire thinking, well, he must have thought he swung. Take a look at Machado right here after this pitch. He's like, oh, yeah, I saw that, didn't I? Yeah,
Wait, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can appreciate the honesty, right? There's certainly a part of that is admirable.
Maybe he's thinking, maybe they didn't see it. Maybe nobody was watching. The 0-2 to Martin. It's fouled back. Jason Hammel closing in on that 90 pitch mark. He's one of those pitchers that, as we talked about, the 2nd and 3rd time through it has really been a struggle for him, but it's complete opposite today. The 1st time through was where he had the problems. 3 runs in that 1st inning on 4 hits. Nothing on 5 hits since. He's closing in on that 90 pitch mark. He's a rare pitcher in today's game, CJ. He averages 98 pitches per game, and there are only 8 starters in Major League Baseball entering today that average 100 pitches a game.
It's a different game in that regard, and it's the way that guys are bred. Older veteran guys that have been around would prefer to push it a little bit, but organizations just really don't let it happen.
Martin, a line drive to right. That's going to get over Solaire's head and off the base of the wall. Martin with good speed easily into second with a 1-out double. Time to check in once more with Kevin Burkhardt for a game break. Kevin, thanks. Brandon Morrow's first blown save of the year for the Cubs came in the 9th, and then the home run for the Cardinals. They've taken the first 2 in that weekend series.
Cubs are in 4th place right now. It's early. It's really early. They're a couple of games above 500. Nobody's running away with that division, but it is getting interesting, and the Brewers are certainly going to put up a fight along with the Cardinals. The Pirates, can the Pirates hang in there?
Boy,
3 games above 500. They have been a great storyline. He said, well, how do you build a team? He said, well, trade away your ace and your MVP. Andrew McCutchen and Garrett Cole, and then maybe you'll have a chance to win. There's your market inefficiency right there. Get rid of your best players.
Pitch outside for ball 1 to Candelario. 0 for 3 today. A strikeout, 2 fly balls to center. You talk about that Brewers team, a young team that's just entering its window, and the bullpen that might be the best in baseball. Corey Knebel about ready to come back too at the back end.
Josh Hader, if you haven't seen it yet, you want to check him out. He has been incredible. The swings and misses. And that we know, listen, we see a lot of them now in the bullpen. Somebody has to be the best. This is fascinating to me. He is averaging, we use that strikeout rate, I like that, per 9. 19.5 strikeouts per 9. So essentially he is averaging 20 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is the Major League record, 20 strikeouts in 9 innings. He's averaging the Major League record per 9 innings on his strikeouts.
Well, you see his performance the other night, 2 2/3 innings, all strikeouts, 8 Ks.
It's been crazy. 39 of those so far for him in 18 innings.
That feels like a good ratio.
Listen, if you like being successful and getting guys out, it's a really good way to go.
The 2-1 foul back to the screen, 2-2. Cavalierio's seen 68 more pitches than any teammate this season. Awfully good eye, very patient, hits to all fields. And the thing that makes Tigers fans the most happy, he's under club control until the 2024 season.
And there's some good competition on his team as far as who else would be seeing good pitches. He's better than 4.1 per plate appearance. You got Victor Martinez on your team. It's not an easy thing to do as far as being better.
13 he's seen today. That's a low for Candelario.
How much longer we're going to see Jason Hammel in this game. 4th time through the order.
The 3-2 pitch. Just missed. And it's ball 4. 2 on, 1 out for Castellanos. The Major League Baseball Junior Home Run Derby allows kids 14 and under to compete to be in the National Home Run Derby Championship during the 2018 All-Star Week in Washington, D.C. Register for a free competition in your local community at jrhrd.com.
I got an over 40 division in that, because that would be super fun. Home Run Derby?
You would enjoy. Will they bring the fences in?
I would like them to. I would need it. So this is interesting here. Mound visits, of course, now they're regulated as far as how often you can do it. Salvador Perez out to talk to his pitcher, and he keeps kind of looking back. This has been interesting. He looked out into the dugout at Ned Yost after the walk. Ned Yost put up one finger, and I kind of got the impression he meant he's going to give him one more hitter. Perez went out, had that meeting, looked back at Ned Yost again, as almost to say, are you sure? This is what we're going to do. Castellanos, a couple of doubles today against Jason Hammel, but Ned Yost is leaving him in.
2 on, 1 out. It's blocked by Perez to keep that one up the third base line. Castellanos down a strike, 0-1. 35 multi-hit games, including today with a double and a triple. It's the most in baseball, tied with D. Gordon, since August 9 of 2017. A good run as he's grown into a real big role for this Tiger squad. Two on, 1 out, the 0-1. Even now, 1-1 the count. Jason Hammel closing in on that 100 pitch mark. He's battled since that 3 spot in the first. Our StatCast powered by AWS, giving you a look at what's on the base paths. With Martin at second, Candelario at first, and a 2-1 count now. Castellanos.
You know, I'm sitting here wondering, does Ned Yost know something that we don't know? He's allowing Hammel to face Castellanos in this big spot.
2-2. I generally find that when asked that question about does so-and-so know something that I don't know, the answer is generally yes. Two balls, 2 strikes. Castellanos settling in. Hammel looking for a strikeout or a ground ball at somebody. The 2-2. Chased one out of the zone, and that's strike 3.
That's why you and I sit up here and Ned Yost does it down there. That's why he's got a ring. He sticks with Jason Hammel in a big spot, and he goes out and he finishes off Nick Castellanos after a couple of doubles in this game. That ball not even close. As you see pitch by pitch here, and working one pitch in, but everything else moving down and away, and Royals are rewarded for their faith in Jason Hammel in that big spot.
And now Hammel's day comes to a close as Brian Flynn will enter the game for the Royals at a key spot in the 7th. on to face now right-handed hitting Victor Martinez is Brian Flynn, and Martinez fouls the first pitch back, 0-1. Martinez today 2 for 3, and a good look at the left-hander Brian Flynn, 6'7", 250 pounder.
A big guy. 2-pitch mix for Flynn. Fastball sits around 92 miles an hour. You get a slider around 86 on average. Been a good start to the season for him here in game number 11.
Drafted by the Tigers was Flynn back in 2011 in the 7th round. 2 years in Miami to follow, 3 years here in Kansas City as counts even 1-1.
This one makes some sense, turning Victor Martinez around. A couple of runners here on base now for the Tigers with a couple of outs.
2-1 on Martinez, hitting just 167 against left-hand batters this year, 3-18.
Yeah, and you know it's interesting because Flynn, and it's early in the season, it's only been 10 games, but at least the batting average against has been higher against lefties, 306, righties, 286. Excuse me, 308 against lefties. He's a contact guy, just a 3.7 strikeout per 9 rate so far this season.
Martin at second, Candelario at first, and a 2-1 pitch coming. Ball 3 to Martinez.
Show you those splits from Victor Martinez. There they are. Now that's him hitting left-handed, as opposed to get confused against left-handers. Of course, he bats right-handed, hitting 167 with no home runs and 3 RBIs. That's why you make the switch. That's why Ned Yost wanted Flynn in to turn Martinez around.
And then Flynn walks Martinez on 5 pitches, and the bases are loaded here in the 7th. Up to the plate comes Jacoby Jones, and our Bass Pro Shops player profile is of Jacoby Jones, the former LSU Tiger turned Detroit Tiger. 3rd round pick by Pittsburgh in 2013, came over in a trade in 2015. Came into this game hitting 284 over his last 17 games, and you've seen him doing work in the outfield today. But he's had 3 at-bats and has seen 5 pitches. His 4th, he sees 1. And a foul ball to Moustakas ends the threat here in the 7th. Time to stretch in Kansas City with the Tigers up a pair. Tigers, as we welcome you back for the bottom of the 7th inning alongside CJ Nitkowski. I'm Kevin Kugler. both starters did some good things today. Jason Hammel, a nice bounce back, but Zimmerman continued his excellent pitching over the course of the last couple of games.
Yeah, and it was good to see, I think, for Zimmerman, very necessary that he kind of gets back on track a little bit. It's been a rough start to his career here with the Detroit Tigers. 2.5 years in now to that big contract that they gave him, and certainly for Hammel as well. A little bit of a slow start to his season, and it looked like it might have been a little bit of a disastrous start, but he bounced back very nicely after that rough first inning.
And now Alex Wilson doing some work for Detroit.
Wilson, the right-hander, has been good. Good batting averages against him. 222 against lefties, 189 against right-handers. He's taken on some meaningful innings for this bullpen. Guy's fastball sits 92 miles an hour. Throw the cutter as well, 87, and a slider, along with a changeup.
One ball, one strike. Escobar elevating on that 93-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's 1-2. Escobar walked in the fifth. 1 for 10 in his career, though, against Alex Wilson. The 1-2. Alex Wilson, the second player in Major League Baseball history to be born in Saudi Arabia. His dad, Jim, was a geologist, was working over there when Alex entered the world. Spent most of his formative years growing up in Tennessee. Red Sox took him as a second rounder in '09. And he's even 2-2 with Alcides Escobar. Look at Wilson, third pitcher used by the Tigers today. On the ground to short. Flip to first by Iglesias is the first out of the seventh.
Well, let's get you caught up and show you the game summary from this afternoon here in Kansas City. We mentioned Jason Hammel getting the start, but it was a slow start for him in that first inning as the Tigers put up 3 runs on 4 hits. 3 of those were doubles. Very comfortable swings in that first inning. Jordan Zimmerman, overall, 5 innings for him. He threw the ball extremely well. No runs, just the 2 hits allowed. And Castellanos has had a big day. You see it there, 2 for 4, double, triple. Forgot they called that a triple with him.
He will not forget.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's funny too. You don't necessarily look at him as a triple guy, but he led 10 last year. He led the American League last year.
Yep.
But we say that, and then you and I were just talking about the ballpark a couple innings ago. It's triples alley there in right field and in left center field.
Well, this Tiger team, not a home run hitting team, but they are a double and triple hitting team. So not a surprise to see what we saw from them early with doubles aplenty in that first inning with a triple from Castellanos. The 1-1. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes on Ryan Goins, who's struck out swinging today along with a fly ball to center. Called strike 3. Goins frozen by that pitch over the outer edge. 2 down, and back to Kevin Burkhardt in our Los Angeles studios with a game break. Kevin, thank you. Phillies team going to turn into a decent story this year if they can maintain.
Yeah, they were ready to run their manager out of town after about 4 games into the season. Gabe Kapler, former teammate of mine, former Tiger, former FS1 personality as well. He's done a really nice job with that club. They're a team that you look at and say, yeah, you could see where they would turn things around pretty quickly as far as their rebuild. They were able to get rid of a lot of those contracts that were slowing them down over the last couple of years. They were able to acquire some pretty high draft picks because of their struggles, and starting to spend a little bit. Carlos Santana, Jake Arrieta, and you could certainly see them maybe even in line for a big ticket item potentially over these next couple of years. There's some names you've heard of that will be hitting the free agent market. Bryce Harper, Manny Machado. Clayton Kershaw could opt out if he'd like to become a free agent this year, and the Phillies might be involved in a couple of those conversations.
Jay slaps that one to left, coming on in a hurry, and a nice play by Jones in left to finish a 1-2-3 inning for Alex Wilson and the Tigers, who lead it by 2. This one is sponsored by Ford, going further so you can, and by Charles Schwab, own your tomorrow. Top of the 8th inning with the Tigers hanging on to a 3-1 lead. All 3 runs for Detroit coming in the top half of the first. It'll be John Hicks, James McCann, and Jose Iglesias to face the new right-hander Brad Keller for the Royals.
Take a look at what Keller has done so far this season. There it is, game number 14. 6 strikeouts to his 2 walks so far this year. Good fastball, averages 95 miles an hour for Keller. He's got the slider and the changeup as well, and good arm that comes out of this Kansas City Royals bullpen.
2 Rule 5 guys in that Royals pen as Hicks is down 0-2. He was picked by the Reds from Arizona in the Rule 5 draft and then traded to Kansas City for cash. Bouncing ball to third. Moustakas, the throw across, and Hicks is retired. 1 down in the Tiger 8th. Keller, 6'5", 230-pound right-hander. Was an 8th round pick by Arizona in 2013.
Rule 5 draft can be tricky as far as trying to manage your roster. It's a lot easier with a pitcher, especially a relief pitcher. And if you're a team that doesn't look like they're going to contend, there's always that opportunity and a possibility. Hiding a guy in your bullpen, getting him some innings. Position player is a lot trickier. We're having that conversation with Ron Gardenhire today, looking at his roster, and they're in that spot where they could afford, at least try to, bring on a Rule 5, and they have that situation right now on their roster with Reyes. And I think he could be a good player. It just becomes, how do you figure it out for the year? And even, you don't want to waste the year either. You want to get him in the lineup, but at the same time, they have some veterans here. You're not just going to take at-bats away from players.
Balls on a strike. Harder to do when you've got 2 relievers out of your 8-man bullpen that are Rule 5 guys. And that's what the Royals are trying to do. Of course, with a Rule 5 guy, you have to keep him on the active roster at the big league level all year long, or you have the opportunity to offer him back. And right into the shift position beautifully, and the scramble throw to first in time, and there's 2 away. And that's why they're shifting for the right-hand hitters as Goins makes the play for the second out.
Yeah, and doing it well. A lot of success for the Royals in these situations, and so frustrating for hitters. Right? Think about what you're trying to do, your offensive approach. You get a pitch and you try to stay in the middle of the field, hit it hard. That is exactly what James McCann did, and he's got nothing to show for it because of the shift. And that's part of the reason that we have seen that decrease in batting averages. No doubt that shifts have gotten in the way.
Ball, no strikes on Jose Iglesias, who's 0 for 3, hit into a double play that ended the 6th his last time up. One ball, 1 strike. Chopper to third. Moustakas bats it down. That's a fair ball, and that'll be a base hit for Iglesias. He's aboard for the first time today. This MLB season, get the baseball game that will have you wanting to play it again. RBI Baseball 18 delivers an all-new franchise mode and much more. RBI Baseball 18 available now. Learn more at rbigame.com. Rated everyone. Dixon Machado 1 for 3 today. It was the 8th inning last night that the Royals, down 2, were able to rally, put 4 on the board, and come back against this Tiger pen. Neither bullpen has been necessarily a high point for these 2 teams in the early portion of the season.
No, and I think you will see a lot of turnover, especially I think on the Tigers side, and a lot of times your rotation is responsible for that as well. How deep can you get into games? How often you have to use those relievers? What arms do you have? And it can be frustrating for managers. It's the most difficult part of your job, and when you're not exactly sure, not exactly confident in all of your arms down there, it can make things really stressful in trying to make those decisions.
You talk about that starting staff for Detroit, and they're in really good company. They're the 5th best earned run average among starting staffs in the American League. The teams ahead of them are Houston, Boston, the Yankees, and the Indians. And then there are the Tigers.
That is a little bit of a surprise. Those rotations that you just mentioned run very deep. Those are all likely postseason teams, should be led by those good, strong starting rotations.
We'll see if that stat holds up, say, by August or September. But at least through the first month of the year, the Tigers starting staff, right there among the best in the American League.
Good arms in there. Saw Liriano last night throw really well for the Tigers. Michael Fulmer is a stud. That was a great pickup in that Cespedes trade from the Mets.
3 balls and a strike now on the number 9 hitter, Dixon Machado.
Remember when the Mets seemed like they just had that overflow of starting pitching, and then all of a sudden, it seems like that has evaporated. Some big news with Matt Harvey being designated for assignment.
That was one of those situations that you could kind of see coming.
Sure, no
down
doubt.
the road.
His Mets career was over. Well, it's a really, and not just, this game. We make assumptions a lot of times. If we saw Matt Harvey get off to that unbelievable start and kind of take New York by storm, and he really seemed to enjoy New York life and being that guy and wanting to live the Derek Jeter life, I believe he mentioned at one point.
Runner goes on the 3-2. Sprayed foul.
People were counting down the years until he would hit free agency. And it seemed like he might have been a little bit as well. Things just got sideways on him with injuries and struggles, and he'll be wearing a different uniform here pretty soon.
Hard to believe. Of course, we see it all the time in this game. Promise sometimes develops, sometimes does not, for a variety of reasons. 3-2 pitch again, hit on the ground to the left side. Charging is Escobar. Off balance throw high, and Duda able to pull it down, keeps his foot on the bag, and the inning over. Heart of the order, Jorge Soler leading it off for the Royals at the bottom of the 8th. The hero of last night for Kansas City, Jorge Soler, leading it off here in the bottom of the 8th, down a pair. And Soler, whose 2-run single plated the go-ahead runs in the 8th last night. Out in front, 1 ball, no strikes. 0 for 3 today. 10-game hit streak and a 19-game reach base streak on the line for Soler. A little chopper up the third baseline, foul. 1-1 on Jorge Soler.
Tell you what, if this continues for him, if his season goes well, this is going to be a really good story, not only just for the Royals, which is most important to them, but I think also for baseball. I think you're going to hear a lot of people kind of digging into the Soler story based on what Ned Yost had told us and his desire to prepare more. You know, he said he's made such huge improvements in the outfield, and that's not easy to do. Once you get here, like, you know, the bulk of what you are is difficult to change, right? I mean, there's kind of a story written on you. You can certainly make improvements once you get to the big leagues, but dramatic improvements are hard to come by.
Broken bat, slow roller to third. Valerio throws across, and he got him.
He's going to need some new bats after this game, and not only is he breaking them, but he is just shattering his bats today so far. Watch this helicopter. The ball goes to third, the bat goes to short. Candelario does a nice job. This was close. Soler busts it down the line. I kind of wonder if he's a thin handle bat guy, because he's lost some barrels in today's game.
Maybe been one of the changes he made in the offseason. Lost 20 pounds from his physical form, lost a few pounds from his bat as well. Now Gardenhire going back to the pen. New Detroit pitcher. Tell you about Daniel Stump coming on in a moment. left-hander on the hill, Dan Stump for the Detroit Tigers. Ready to face Mike Moustakas. Bases empty, 1 out. 2-run lead for the Tigers in the 8th, and 0-1 the count on Moustakas. The numbers on the new left-hander, the former Royal farmhand.
Yeah, game number 17 for him. Strikeouts a little bit low, but overall a pretty good year, and he's done a nice job against lefties. .238 batting average. And a nice job against righties, .240. He's going to get Moustakas, and kind of wonder, we saw with Salvador Perez on deck, and we mentioned some of those struggles against lefties, that maybe Stump stays in there based on his numbers, and then of course Perez's struggles against his lefties.
2 balls and a strike. You saw Moustakas 2 for 8 career against Stump. In his career against left-handers, Moustakas hitting .242, skosh better this year at .255. But the bulk of his work and the bulk of his power comes against righties. The 2-1, 2-2. 7 of his 8 home runs this year have come off right-hand pitching. And Moustakas expanding the strike zone there. 2 down in the 8th. And out comes Ron Gardenhire again.
I guess we were wrong again.
Stump's day, 1 batter, did his job. We'll tell you about the new pitcher when we return. Joe Jimenez on now for Detroit. 2 down, 2-run lead, 18th game for Jimenez on the year. He struggled last night, ended up taking the loss. 4 runs scoring for the Royals in the bottom of the 8th, turning a 2-0 Tiger lead into a 4-2 Kansas City win as Perez looks at ball 1.
So to say that we have guessed along, and I say we because it didn't go well. If it was going well, I would take full credit.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to bring you in.
Me in.
Yeah, I'll bring you in with the failures that we had of trying to guess along with these managers.
Kugler, you were terrible at that today.
And so far, it's worked out for both of these managers. They've made some good decisions that have yielded outs.
Tough play here as Hicks into foul territory makes an excellent catch off the bat, and the Tigers send the Royals heart of the order down in order in the 8th. fans as the family of Jason Adams. See his wife Kelsey in the front row. She's wiping her eyes right there. Because the long road it has taken Jason Adams to get to this point. The emotions are very real for her. What is Jason Adams feeling as he goes onto the hill? The Blue Springs Northwest grad right here in the Kansas City area was called up on Friday, was drafted by the Royals out of high school in 2010, was traded to the Twins in 2014, and then missed nearly 3 years with injury. Signed again by the Royals. They brought him up from Omaha yesterday, and here he is making his major league debut, top of the ninth, in a 3-1 game out of Overland Park, Kansas. His whole family is in that suite today. Mom and dad, his wife Kelsey's due in June. What a moment. And the emotions have got to be off the charts in that suite and on the mound.
So everybody has been involved in this journey with him, right? All of these people that right now watching, the family, and the journey has been one of mostly struggle and questions and concerns, and probably the conversations of how long do I do this? Is it not meant to be? Every player who has struggles and injuries goes through it. And to see a player stick it out and it come to fruition, not only is he in the big leagues, but he is in the big leagues with his team and putting on that royal blue, being a local kid. The emotions of the first time you step on a big league mound or in the batter's box are huge. It amplifies 10 times that when you're doing it in front of your home crowd for your home team. And those emotions right now are pretty incredible. And this isn't just, well, they're doing it because it's a nice story. They really like this kid's arm. You see 96 miles an hour. And there is some potential here to be impact. And now Salvador Perez will go out and say, you're probably pretty nervous right now. Your heart's beating maybe faster than it's ever before. Big deep breath here. Stay with me. I got you. And it's always really helpful when you have the kind of catcher that Salvador Perez is behind the plate and thinking about making your debut, especially with these circumstances, because it's such a calming voice. And then there's that trust level of factor, knowing this guy is digging in. I know I can just go along with him and he's got me. That helps a little bit in these situations. I'm not going to say a ton. Slowing your heart rate down is difficult right now.
Candelario, the batter. First pitch, a strike. It's not as if Jason Adams was thrown into the shallow end of the pool here either. Ninth inning, tight ball game. Your team's still got a shot in the bottom of the ninth. And you're facing the top of the order here for the Tigers. Martinez at first with the leadoff walk. Blocked by Perez, 1-1. You know, when he got the call just up the road in Omaha is the AAA affiliate, the Storm Chasers in Omaha. Brian Polberg is their manager. He called up Jason Adams. He said, hey, I know I had to give you this news a couple of years ago, but we traded you again. Jason Adams says, you cannot be serious. I'm traded again? I'm this close? He goes, no, I'm kidding. You're going to Kansas City.
Oh.
Jason Adams says, I was speechless.
He's playing with his emotions right there.
Not fair.
A fun, cruel joke.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
One that he would take 100 times over. Take a look at that changeup as he turns it over and throws it below the zone. Good looking off speed pitch with the 96-mile-an-hour fastball that we have seen so far.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Time called. Candelario today with a walk in the 7th. A couple of fly balls to center and a strikeout in the first. One of 2 Tigers without a hit today. Jacoby Jones the other. Did he go? No swing on the appeal down to third. 2-2 on Candelario. Adam 51 strikeouts his last 29 minor league innings. So Jason Adams looking for his first big league strikeout here. Martinez, the runner at first, bluffs a go, and the 2-2 is low, ball 3. Martin going on the 3-2. Swing and a miss for strike three. Throw down to second, and it's a strike him out, throw him out, double play.
And a little bit of relief up in the suite right now for the Adam family. It's really pretty amazing because these things can turn around so fast, and you see the walk and a nice encouraging word from Mike Moustakas. Mark that baseball. Make sure you get it right in that young man's locker. It's been a long time coming. Good job on the high heat to get it by Candelario, and then of course Salvador Perez with the big throw. You get to enjoy that moment for, I don't know, a quarter of a second before you gotta get out of the way.
2 down as Castellanos looks at the first pitch low for a ball. You think about that road, though, CJ. 3 years battling injuries. Right in what's supposed to be the moment in your career where you ascend.
Just get to that point where you start to wonder, what's going on here? Is this not meant to be? Am I being told I need to be doing something else? All those questions. You ask yourself, you rely so heavily on the people that are closest to you to get you through it. This is the reward.
Ball, 2 strikes. Castellanos, a double, a triple, and a couple of strikeouts today. Off speed line to left, and that's a base hit. Castellanos around first. He's headed for his 3rd extra base hit of the afternoon. And he's at second with 2 gone. He's headed to Los Angeles. Kevin Burkhart's got another game break for us. Combined no-hitter in Major League Baseball history, and it was the 10th time that the Padres have been no-hit. It's the most of any team since the first season they got into the league in 1969. Not saying there'll be another no-hitter tonight, but you probably should watch just in case.
Of course. It's an exciting moment, exciting series, certainly for Major League Baseball fans everywhere, but in Mexico, it's been a lot of fun, especially for a couple of native Mexican players playing in that series. Alex Verdugo, Carlos Villanueva.
You were talking earlier that atmosphere down there has been electric. Was last night. They've been anticipating this series for a long time.
Excuse me, Christian Villanueva. Carlos.
Ball, 1 strike. Our dynamic play of the game presented by Hankook Tire. We've got to go back to the first inning. Jason Hammel roughed up Victor Martinez, providing a little of the roughing. A double that plates Castellanos. And Victor Martinez providing a little punch. Our dynamic play of the game back in the first. The Tigers scored all 3 of their runs, enjoying a 3-1 lead here in the 9th. Martinez in the air into foul ground. Gordon will give chase, nothing doing.
Well, so far for Jason Adam, first of all, you can see the stuff, why they like him, but he's checking off some boxes. He's got his walk, he's got his strikeout, he's got his base hit. Now, first shutout inning, I think, is the next step. You don't want the first run in that first outing if you could avoid it. But this is certainly not an easy out with Victor Martinez and a runner in scoring position.
Family of Jason Adams certainly hoping that they can get that shutout inning out of the right-hander. The 1-2. On the ground to the right side, and he'll get it. Duda will take it to the bag, and that retires the side. Successful stint in his debut for Jason Adam. And the Royals offense pick up the team at the bottom of the ninth. Is it relief? Is it both? Jason Adam in the dugout.
Breathe. What a nice moment, though, for that young man. He gets his first shutout inning, his first appearance in the big leagues, got himself a strikeout, and it's all smiles, as it should be.
And now, seeing if his offense can rally. They've got 3 outs to do it, down a pair in the ninth. And the first pitch from new right-hander Shane Green is in there for a strike.
See what he's done so far this year. 14 games for Shane Green, 3-1 on the strikeout to walk ratio. He's fit in nicely into this bullpen. Fastball sits at 95. He's got a cutter and a slider. There's that slider.
Down low for a ball, 1-1. Lucas Duda 1 for 3. He had the Royals' first hit of the day. Came in the 4th inning off Jordan Zimmerman, a 2-out double. The Royals have been held to 3 hits by now 6 Tiger pitchers. 2 balls and a strike.
And Green is looking like one of those guys that he's still got a little ways to go to get himself completely established, but former starter turned reliever. You know, he was a starter with the Yankees in 2014. I remember watching him, really liking him and thinking there could have been a big future for him in the rotation, but he struggled his first year in Detroit after getting traded over from the Yankees. But he had himself a really nice year last year coming out of that bullpen. 71 games, 2.66 ERA. The walks were a little bit of an issue, 4.5 walks per 9. That's the one thing that probably needs to clean up a little bit. I like him here in Detroit. No close games for the Tigers this season. He's got 5 saves already.
Two balls, 2 strikes. On the leadoff man here in the 9th inning for the Royals, Lucas Duda. Fouled away. For those of you tuning in for the Dodgers-Padres game, we'll get you out there at the immediate conclusion of our game. In the meantime, that game's available on the local regional networks, Sportsnet LA and Fox Sports San Diego, and you can also see it, of course, on Fox Sports Go. Royals been in comeback mode of late. 5 of their last 6 wins have been come from behind variety as Duda sprays this one down the left field line. That's foul. Still 2-2. fan ends up with a souvenir.
It's worth the wait. It's a good spot then. That's a good foul ball spot.
There's not a single person down there that didn't get a high five from her after that. The 2-2. And Duda lines this one to right field. That ball is going to be off the base of the wall, and Duda's going to have his second double of the day. This one leading off the bottom of the ninth.
Lucas Duda just put together a pretty solid at-bat against Shane Green as he saw 7 pitches when it was all said and done, and they tried to go slider down and in. That one stayed over the plate. You see where McCann's glove was, and he drills this ball into the right field corner. An easy double for Lucas Duda.
Now the tying run coming to the plate. The last time Almonte was up, he took it out in the 6th inning, a solo home run, providing the only run of the day for the Royals. A late rally yesterday in the 8th gave the Royals the win, trying to mount one here in the 9th. And Almonte bunting through that one. 0-1.
Probably a lot of people thinking the way you were. You're looking at a guy that hit a home run a couple of innings ago, has that kind of power, and you're immediately thinking, could he tie this game up? But looks like he may have seen an opportunity to the right side, and a good drag bunt, especially when you could push towards second base. Certainly has a good chance of being a base hit.
Going to left, Almonte trying that line down there, and it's foul.
Well, here's that home run from a couple of innings ago. It was in the 6th where he got a fastball that was up at 89 miles an hour from the lefty Hardy, and he got all of it. He hits it well into the bullpen. Got the Royals on the board. That has been their only run so far this afternoon.
0 for 3 today with runners in scoring position. Almonte's been a Tiger killer this year. 438 the average. 2 homers, 6 runs driven in. Green just missing on the 0-2. Royals at 204 on the year with runners in scoring position, the lowest in all of baseball. Last 6 games came in at 309. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Almonte jumping out of his shoes, and he's out on strikes for the first out of the 9th.
Take a look at the pitch here from Shane Green. There's the slider, and this one actually stayed up in the zone a little bit more than expected. Now you see Almonte keeps the eyes down on that ball. That's one of those sliders that sometimes you get away with it by hanging it more. Had it been a slightly better pitch, it would have sat in the zone a little bit more. As crazy as that sounds, it's better that it was a really bad slider as opposed to just an okay slider.
Here's Alex Gordon. 1 out in the 9th, and he takes the first pitch for a strike. 2 for 9 with 3 strikeouts in his career against Green. Alex Gordon earlier in the week tied a game in the 9th with a long ball in Boston. Royals went on to win that game. Gordon the tying run here with a runner at second. Did he hold his swing? He did not. 0-2. Alex Gordon's home run in that game against Boston prolonged to the 13th inning. Extra baseball in Boston. That game went 4 hours and 25 minutes. The 0-2. And a little looper to left center. But over there, oh, can't make the play! Martinez sees it carried away! Duda rounding third, and Duda is going to score. It's a 3-2 ball game.
Wow. That looked as routine as it gets. You have a little bit of the sun, but the sun is behind you. It really shouldn't be a battle. And Martinez, I think, just missed this or clipped his glove a little bit and then hit him on the head. We'll look at it here in a minute.
Did he lose his glasses on the way to this?
I think it just hit his glasses. I think he just missed it, and then it hit his glasses. So it's not an issue of dealing with the sun. He just flat out missed that ball, and then Lucas Duda has to react, and he scores easily without a throw. And, you know, errors are going to happen, but two very unusual errors here this afternoon for the Detroit Tigers. First with Hicks on that one at first, and now on what should have been the second out in the 9th inning on the Alex Gordon fly ball. Wow.
Boy, first error of the year for Martin, who is an excellent defensive center fielder. Just don't see that kind of play rarely, if ever, at this level, as now the tying run on base and the winning run at the plate. And Escobar has been very good in his career against Green. 375 the average, 6 for 16. One ball, no strikes. Royals have come from behind in 5 of their last 6 wins. They did it last night with 4 in the 8th. And for their first series win, if they can come from behind and get this game, they'll clinch the series, having won the first 2. 1-1 on Escobar. Green looking for save number 6. Not going to be an easy one to get. The 1-1. 2-1. We saw Escobar work a walk back in the 5th inning. CJ pointed it out at the time. That was not something that has been long in the repertoire for Alcides Escobar. Tipped that one with a bat. 2-2.
Probably a strike on the pitch as well, but you call that foul tip first. Escobar asking Las Diaz for some confirmation on the pitch.
Still alive at 2-2. Ready for the 2-2 to Escobar. Alex Gordon, the tying run, out at second, 1 out. Swing and a miss. Green pumped it by him, and now 2 gone in the 9th.
This looked like another slider from Shane Green that didn't exactly go where he wanted it. That ball stayed up and in, trying to go more down and away with the glove of McCann, and this one backed up. And so even though he's gotten away with it twice, both strikeouts this inning from Green have come on sliders that have missed location. And I don't mean by a little bit, but a significant amount that I think is certainly worth noting.
Ryan Goins, the last hope for the Kansas City Royals in this one. 2 out, tying run at second. Goins 0 for 3 today. Bouncing ball up the middle. Second baseman Machado, no play. An infield hit for Goins. Gordon to third.
Interesting that Machado did not throw this ball. First of all, that he fielded it on the run. This was a tough play. You're going to watch it here, and it looked like it hit Green's glove, and it did. He made a clean play, but he must have got uncomfortable on that exchange. He did not feel comfortable making this throw, because I think this would have been close. But you see him right there, changes his mind. He didn't want to take that chance, and as much as you'd like to see him make that play, if you're a Tiger fan, at the same time, he understands the value. If he wasn't comfortable and wasn't confident, then you don't make that throw. If you didn't have a good grip, you don't want to throw the ball away and allow that tying run to score at third.
So the first hit of the day for the Royals with a runner in scoring position keeps the game alive for John Jay. He singled back in the 5th. Nothing in 1 to Jay. Not a great day for either offense with runners in scoring position. One and 1 to John Jay.
Take one more look here at Machado as he fields this ball. We get a little bit of a different look. Watch on the exchange. Yep, you see that ball rolling around in his glove, and he realized right there, look at that, it almost looks like he has a curveball grip. And so even though he had time, had he made that exchange cleanly, I think he could have gotten the runner. But he chose wisely not throwing that ball.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Looked like he was about ready to shoot it like he would a marble. As kids across the country rush to the internet to find out what a marble is and how you shoot it. Green 1 strike away from a hard-earned save. The 1-2 pitch, runner goes, swing and a miss. He strikes out the side and locks down a win with his 6th save of the year.
Well, it wasn't easy for Shane Green. His defense made him work a little bit in that 9th inning, but he picks them up and gets the job done.
3-2 victory for the Tigers over Kansas City. Tigers win their first game in the series. Shane Green with the save to lock it down for Detroit. 3-2 the final. For CJ Nitkowski, I'm Kevin Kugler saying so long from Kansas City. Right now, let's send you to Monterrey, Mexico. It's time for the Dodgers and Padres on FS1.